The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. Shalom, shalom. Come on in.
The East is where we're from. The 12 tribes of Israel.
Shalom, shalom.
In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. So we be Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, and probably from the islands of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans, the highest gathering Israel.
That's right, brothers and sisters. The Most High's gather in Israel. I'm Elder Rawchaa of the Gathered of Christ Church here with our weekly podcast, class, whatever you would like to call it. They call them podcasts now. But this is a discussion leading to, well, really it's to help our brothers and sisters understand the perspectives biblically of what's going on prophetically in our current times. All right. There's some seriousness, some very serious things going down in the earth right now. And hey, wait till you see what we have in store for this particular broadcast. All right. Wait till you see what's in store. Okay. Do us a favor, please. Hit the like button. Y'all know how YouTube does it. You know how they do it, folks. We're shadow banned, and because of that, they will not allow others to know that we are actually broadcasting. Anyone who's finding this channel want to be here. Okay. There's no one that, believe me, if you on this channel, you want to be here because they have done everything to block new viewers from seeing these particular groundbreaking lessons to give understanding to what's going on, seeking to keep the world in a ball of confusion. Okay? 1 second, folks. 1 second. Give me one moment. 1 second. The Arabs and Africans told us. 1 moment, folks. Okay. I had to plug in, directly into the system because right now it seems as if, I'm getting some type of issue One moment. 1 second. Okay, it's solid now. Yeah, I was getting some issues on the. Okay, it's green now. I was getting. Thank you for your patience. Seems like I was getting some issues on the internet side where it was going red for a second. So before I go in, before there's any issues, let me make sure nothing has changed. You can all see and hear me with no issues, so I can jump right in. Lawya, and I. I'm good. Wilderness ready. Oh yeah, Pierre. Wilderness ready. We must be. All right, we good. All right, let's jump right in. First and foremost, as you all know, I'm Elder Rawchaa of the Gathered of Christ Church with our weekly broadcast, and there's a lot I want to jump into, so let's go here. If there's any issues that happen with this particular stream, all right, because it's going up and down, I'm seeing right now. If there's any issues, don't worry about it. I'll fix it, and we'll come right back and pick up from where we left off if there are any issues tonight. But hopefully, prayerfully, the Most High would give us a smooth stream tonight, right? All right. First and foremost, let me go into what we'll be talking about this coming Sunday. Okay, this coming Sunday, we're going into the creation of the black church. Okay, a new theology all today out of chattel slavery, how it's really a mixture of paganism, voodoo, witchcraft, sorcery, with a little Christ sprinkled in with the Bible to give it some level of righteous credibility. Right? So we're going to go into the origin of the black church and show you that there's black overlords that were set up in our community to deceive us as preachers and pastors. The same as we see in pagan Christianity, like the Catholic Church, how they have their whole pagan hierarchy in place. Well, guess what, folks? That's right. Power leaves nothing to chance. There's no way they were going to allow slaves to learn freely in America or under captivity without overlords over them to keep the status quo. So we're going to go into the origin of the black church and show you that, let me tell you, hey, you don't have to go outside the church outright, folks, to worship Satan. I'm going to tell you that right now. Satan is being worshiped right now within the churches today, including the black church. And we're going to prove it this coming Sunday. Modern day Christianity with a serious focus on the black satanic church within America will be our full scope and breakdown this coming Sunday. And I hope all pastors are there. We have a lot of pastors in the academy. Please don't take this personally. Okay. The Bible states in times past, the Most High winked at our ignorance, but command everyone everywhere to repent. And I would submit that if the churches stood for what was right according to God's law, the progressive evil we see in the earth in America today wouldn't exist on the same level. It couldn't. Okay. So the churches are not just partly responsible. Okay. They're more so in the higher percentile concerning the responsibility to why the Western world have fallen to such depths. And we're going to go into that. And guess what? It's going to shock a lot of us. It's going to shock a lot of you. Elder Lawya sent me some good details. We have some documentaries to go over. I have some peer reviews from the universities, how they've been studying the black church for a long time in hopes that they could keep us at bay from learning the truth concerning ourselves long enough to destroy us. Okay. And they needed those conclaves, those churches in place to keep the delusion, to keep the deception going until they could drum up enough political steam and all that and psychological warfare using the healthcare systems and everything else to destroy us. But they had to keep us distracted under Christianity. And I'm going to show y'all that I'm going to show y'all that and more this coming Sunday. Overlords of the Black Christian Church. That's right. Satan's hub within the Black church. Satan's spirit within the Black church. And guess what? It's going to shock a lot of you. Some of those practices that we have come to love or have familiarized ourselves with and endeared ourselves with, certain practices. You're going to be shocked to find that they're straight satanic practices. For example, and we're going to go into this, we're going to talk about it this Sunday, Elder Lawya. Speaking in tongues. Speaking in tongues, what we see people doing when they and all that old stuff they be doing. Folks, that's satanic. Doesn't matter whether or not they claim it makes them feel a certain type of way. It's satanic. Paul warned people not to do that. Okay, we're going to go into it. There's a lot of voodoo, witchcraft, soothsaying, divination, fortune telling. There's a lot of straight witchcraft amongst the Christian churches. And one thing I like about being an Israelite, knowing that I'm Christ, understanding God's law. One thing about the law is absolute, right? When I say the law is absolute, Satanists cannot outright hide in full sight, in plain sight, amongst those who understand the law. You can't operate in full sight and claim to be Christ amongst those who know the law, because we know what a witch looks like. Okay? So if a witch has some crystals and she's sitting there over some bowls trying to make it whistle, talking about nature, I don't care how much she try to invoke Christ's name. That's a witch. Okay? If someone comes and say, hold up, I see something in your future. I see prosperity for you. Christ has given me some insight to show your future. We know that no, Christ didn't tell this person nothing. You're dealing with a witch. That's a diviner. You have necromancers. So if someone say, I see something in your future, we even went into the details, and I'm going to bring up more of this coming Sunday, on how those who claim that a veil was born over their eyes. Well, we had the peer review information that we discussed in our lesson, witches and warlocks. Folks, how all of that is satanic superstition to get children into the priesthood of soothsaying and divining. We brought that crap from Africa into Louisiana, and we started, and that's right. Oh yeah, someone have a veil over them. They born with a thin skin over them. Well, guess what? You got it. We talking about the medicine men and the witches and the warlocks will see the baby with the veil over them and say, we need that child will replace us in time. We need to train your child in the art of seeing. Folks, that and more, we're going to be discussing in full detail the satanic operations within the Black church this coming Sunday. You don't want to miss it. Last but not least, before I open up the dialogue for today, before I go into the topic, a short monologue. June 25th, Sunday, June 25th, we'll begin a new academy and that's right, we're taking enrollments for that right now. And folks, this is going to be the Academy of Academies, okay? We're dealing with the spiritual warfare, darkness against light for this academy. But we're going into the master class, which is archaeology and history for each lesson. Okay? This is the time in which you get the proof. Okay? Proof that cannot be questioned concerning the truth of the Bible from one lesson to the next. Charts, timelines, archaeological facts. Everything will be a master class from the creation of the universe until what? Until the judgment of the gods at the very end when Christ returns, okay? So each week we're going to have what? You got it. Archaeology, history, timelines, as well as chronicle charts, everything you would need. Now, we have a lot of this stuff in the academy now, but we're going to make a focused effort to make this strictly school for 3 full months, giving us the history that was lost in chattel slavery, before slavery. The history of our travels from Zion here into the Americas. And guess what? We're going to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that the Bible is a living history book. June 25th is going to be a master class. You have to be there. If you've been in the academy before, it's going to be on another level because it's going to be about the chalkboard. It's going to be us not just sitting there talking with you. We're going to go to another frame where we're opening that board for you. We're bringing down the charts, which showing the timelines. That's right, folks. This is going to be the one, and I hope you are live with a seat in that academy. You don't want to miss it, okay? It's Sunday, June 25th. Go to historytimes.org and enroll. So let's jump into the broadcast. Let's jump right in. What will befall a broken world? What will befall this broken world? What is the future for America? And before you answer that question, okay, and I want you all to answer this in your own way. At the back of what I'm about to show you, okay, I'm going to need to know, brothers and sisters out there, what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do in respect of what's pressed against us and our children? What are you willing to do? Because they're not going to stop. When I say they're not going to stop, let's go in. What will befall a broken world? Let's go back to when I was coming up a little bit, right? Let's go back to when it was all red, white, and blue, apple pie, Elvis, and John Wayne. You had John Wayne. It was all about masculinity, right? John Wayne. Who all remember John Wayne? Fast on the draw. It was all about masculinity. Little House on the Prairie, right? And then down the line, we started having other movies, right? Now, this is primarily white, but I'm going to just show you the American image. Years ago, where masculinity reigned. All right? When a man wasn't shamed for being a man. Martin Luther King, a proud black man that can stand before all. Right? A sea of people standing before someone with class, prestigious, well-spoken, highly educated, and plugged in to what was really going on politically in the world at that time, and was seeking from the pulpit to make a change. Now, whether anyone else can agree or disagree with the politics of Martin Luther King, no one can deny that he was an image of a strong black man. But when he was coming up, there was John Wayne. Look, someone said it. Look, someone must be looking at my my talking points. Someone must be looking at my talking points. Huh? 1 second, folks. 1 second. Someone must be looking at my talking points. Shaft. Someone must have been looking at my talking points here. Shaft. When men weren't ashamed to be men. Right? I'm a bad, shut your mouth. Y'all remember that, right? Isaac Hayes. Remember that? Look at this. I need y'all to check this out, brothers and sisters. Shaft. When the women were dainty, when the women respected the authority of man, when men were celebrated as men. Now, why am I going here, folks? Because when you have men like this, and at the same time, all the movies out there are pushing the idea of a damsel in distress, right? We grew up Snow White. The prince go find Snow White, vulnerable, right? The damsel in distress. Every movie had a damsel in distress. Someone tied to a train and the hero comes and save her from the evil villain, right? Damsel and this remember that? Y'all remember that? Damsel in distress. I'm gonna show you where I'm going. Stick with me. The dastardly villain right here gets his due and the damsel is saved. Now that shaped in of itself within our society, folks, an inherent spirit to protect family and nation, even if it meant spilling blood on the battlefield. Okay? That damsel represented what? The wife who would bear our children. And that we were willing to go to war. It doesn't matter the war. To save legacy. So that image of a strong man sustained America. Now, of course, America had its own issues. Black on one side, white on the other side. And I'm going to people wonder where I'm going here because this is Bible based, but I'm showing you something here. We had our own internal issues. Black on one side and white on the other, but guess what? What we all agreed on. We agreed on that image. Where a woman didn't have to ask, where are the men to protect me? There was no question about men protecting women because it was ingrained within the social construct. It was ingrained within the social engineering, the programming. The image of protection was the American way. Now I'm speaking just on the surface here, right? Damsel in distress, right? And now what? Let's fast forward to 2023. The image. Hit that like button, folks, please. Hey, we're about to hit it. We are about to go and hit that like button. Please. Why have there been such a shift? What will befall a broken world? Now, what makes this world broken? Well, the image of God is male. Man first, the woman, right? Then the child, which brings forth life. That's the image of God. From a religious standpoint, a biblical standpoint, God, Christ, man, woman, children. The divine order. Okay? Now, as long as you have those concepts in place from one generation to the next, a nation can sustain. A nation thinks to protect itself from the foreign enemy. Why? Because the family, the man, have something to actually protect. There's something he has to protect outside of himself. It's programmed in him. It's innate. Right? But let's fast forward to 2023. And let's see what the images are today. Now remember that concept, masculinity. Masculinity. We grew up with masculine, what they would call role models. Right? We grew up with masculine role models. Right? See that? Shaft. John Wayne. Right? The Waltons, Little House on the Prairie. The Lone Ranger and Tonto. Y'all remember that? Damsel in Distress was one key. Every movie, everything, every production had a damsel in distress. Right? Now let's fast forward to 2023. Adidas Pride 2023 woman's swimsuit appeared to be modeled by a man. Now, what does this mean? We're going to go into it in a moment. I know a lot of you are going to say it's a shame, but let's bear with me here. Bear with me. Adidas Pride 2023 women's swimsuits appear to be modeled by a man. Now, that's a man in a one piece. And this is a Pride swimsuit. Now, I'm going to show you where we're going at here, folks. Now, no one knows who this guy is. No one understands who raised him. No one knows where he came from. But obviously, they found this guy somewhere to model for Adidas woman's swimwear. Now, women, you should be alarmed and offended. And I don't hear enough women speaking out as they should, because you don't know what this means for you. Because what this guy is doing, whatever's going on here, it's not a threat. It's not a threat at all to men. To a real man. They're aiming towards destroying the women. Without the women, there'll be no children. Right? See? The image of John Wayne back then, and even till this day, when it comes to white men, don't fear this. This has no bearing or no threat, has no threat at all to a man. We, being the modern day shafts, all right, black men who aren't ashamed to be men. Folks, this doesn't threaten us at all. Sisters, I'm going to tell you this right now. And I'm going to show you where this is going. I'm not pointing fingers. There's not a blame game. I'm just showing you where this goes. Because suppose this jumps in front of you and become the new damsel in distress. Not with men. Let me make it clear. I'm not going to be out trying to save anything that's going on with this guy in a onesie. But the government will. Let me show you. Let's go to the next one. The Indian Express. Now, brothers and sisters, none of us out here can claim while they're doing it, corporations is selling out for the money. Well, it can't be. Because Bud Light can't sell a can of beer now after they putting a biological man who was born a man, a boy, on the can of Bud Light during Pride Month. His name is Dylan Mulvaney. So you can't say it's about the money. So the corporations are willing to sacrifice the future of their stock to push biological men as women. So there must be a higher, a greater reason for this outside of money for them. Somehow they'll profit, even if losing money. And this is what I want y'all to understand, brothers and sisters. For years, we've been scapegoating the fact that, well, these corporations are selling out. They're doing this because of money. Well, Bud Light can't sell a can of Bud now. They've intentionally offended their base. Right-wing, white Republicans or white men. That's the base of Bud Light. So they knew going out that they would probably offend their base. So what are they gaining by losing money but pushing men as women? How does that benefit the corporations? Make sure you mark that because we're going to put the money to the side, folks. We've been scapegoating and moving all around thinking that, well, okay, it must be the money. This is why corporations are doing this, because it means money. Well, it can't be money, folks. They're losing money. They're losing their money. So what is it? Elder Rawchaa sent this to me. Last but not least, coming up before the internet, brothers and sisters, we had Jet Magazine, we had Ebony Magazine. And every young man growing up, you know, you get that little Jet Magazine, you go right to the middle, and that's where it would show the Jet Beauty of the Month and all that, right? And then the highly anticipated once a year, they would find a beautiful woman, damsel in distress, beauty, woman, to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated. That's a one deal a year. It was a man's magazine where they will get this magazine to celebrate the beauty of a woman. Okay, whether it be Tyra Banks or whoever that might be. Well, let's fast forward to 2023. Swimsuit 2023, Sports Illustrated, Kim Purtress. That's right. This was born and is a biological boy, male. So why are they turning things upside down? And what will befall a broken world? In which this is the weakness portrayed as America currently, opposed to when it was red, white, and blue, apple pie, John Wayne, Shaft. A male-dominated strength. The image was strength in America. And guess what? All nations on the outside of America feared that strength because men had something to die for and were willing to die. And was willing to die for legacy, for family. But what are we showing now? What is the image now? The image is man can now be woman. And what does that mean? There's an outright attack on the women. And by proxy, by default, the children. See, these Satanists are very patient, folks. Sports Illustrated. Need y'all to see this. Sports Illustrated. See, those Satanists, they are very patient. That's a biological, that was a boy right there. Now, they want to pawn this off, but real men aren't dealing with this. No one is asking what happened to this boy. And what are we going to do to get in front of our young men not gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated swimwear? They were very patient, folks. See, and this is why I feel sorry for this generation in particular. You know why I feel sorry for this generation? Well, brothers and sisters, these Satanists were very patient. See, when I was coming up, men couldn't pawn themselves off like this because there was no place to hide. There was a clear understanding of what a man looked like and what a normal woman looked like. And there were very few people walking outside every day with costumes. So they were very patient. So they had to, don't forget, the transsexual thing and secret parties and that they've always dealt with those things behind closed doors. You would hear about drag shows and all that and all these other things out there, but it was separated from, that's right, from the optics of normality, from the optics of what? Society. It always existed. It always existed. But they had to make it where the majority of people would come out with costumes so that now these others who had to be tucked away, private to themselves, can now have a safe space amongst the population. See? So they were very patient with this. Let's dress the women up like this. Let's make a prototype where all women aspire to look a certain type of way, and they would have to do these things to look that way. And eventually it'll be widely accepted amongst men and women to deal with transformed people. And eventually the guys would do the same. They can put the hair pieces in. They can put the makeup on. They can now get the BBLs. They can now take take medication, estrogen and others, and all that. And now get access to everything women had. That's right. They have found a way to have white men take from what's left of black women. All they have to do is identify as one. And our sisters are struggling as it is. Amongst the women, they're struggling. And now they have to worry about a guy deciding to be a woman who automatically, if that person's white, that's right, has a political advantage over our women who are suffering. Now, that's not my opinion. Lawya, I hope you're looking at this because we're going through it real quick. That's not my opinion. You know I bring the facts. Hit the like button for me, please. I bring the facts here. Fact sheet. So y'all can't claim I made this up. WhiteHouse.gov. Okay? I'm not embellishing. When I say I bring the facts, this is the fact sheet from whitehouse.gov. Biden, that's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration releases first ever federal evidence agenda on LGBTQI plus equity. Now, what does this mean? Now, this was as of January 24th. Today, the Biden and Harris administration releasing the first ever federal evidence agenda on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex LGBTQI equity, a roadmap that federal agencies will use to ensure they are collecting the data and evidence they need to improve the lives of LGBTQI Americans. This evidence agenda delivers on a commitment made by President Biden in a June 22 executive order on LGBTQI equity and is an important step forward in the administration's work to expand the federal collection of data about sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics, SOGI data, and advance equity for LGBTQI Americans. Now, what they're not telling you here, folks, and I'm going to go further, in order for them to roll out this agenda, that's right, the Biden administration had to sever out a budget for this particular initiative. And we're talking millions upon millions of dollars. Millions upon millions. Now, these millions aren't going to protect our people or to help our sisters who are now being put out or up to their neck over their head in debt. You have a white man who was he could be the great-great-grandchild of a plantation owner. He can now claim to be a woman and get access to all the finances that belongs to minority women, which are our sisters who are suffering. The Biden administration has made important progress to advance full inclusion and equal protection for LGBTQI and Americans, plus Americans. However, the effectiveness of this work has been limited by the incomplete information on the number of LGBTQI people in the United States. So they need to get a bead on how many people that can benefit financially from this particular initiative. Now, in order for them to get the money they want, they have to have more people identify as gay or one of these letters. Now, here's a political money game I'm dropping here. How they do it. People in the United States, they're experienced engaging with federal agencies and the disparities they face in their daily lives. The evidence agenda released today highlights the opportunity to advance LGBTQI equity, elemental P, whatever, that increased federal data collection and evidence building would create, and provide a roadmap to guide those efforts. Grounded in evidence, the agenda builds on and continues work taking place across federal agencies and integrates knowledge and expertise from numerous of community leaders and technical experts, both inside and outside the United States government. The evidence agenda includes an overview of the priority evidence gaps the Biden and Harris administration has identified where increased SOGI data collection will support more evidence-informed programs and policies. Specific questions that agencies will consider as they seek to build and use evidence to improve the health and well-being of the letter people, and important guidelines for collecting data on forms such as benefits. See that, folks? Hold, let me go. This is the White House. Here it is, sisters and brothers. Benefits applications, including the safeguards agencies might use to enable robust SOGA data collection while protecting individual privacy, security, and civil rights. And civil rights. And civil rights. The evidence agenda released today builds on the Biden-Harris administration's historic progress to advance the letter people's data equity, including, here it come, y'all, securing $10 million for 2023 in the bipartisan government funding bill to research adding questions about the letter people, Americans, for the Census Bureau's American Community Survey. So it's going to be financially advantageous for those who want access to financial help in our community to identify as gay. Or they can't get access to this $10 million. Now, this is one of many bills Biden have passed from year to year since getting elected, having given our people who voted him in one red dime, nothing. But if they want to get access to some help in our community, they're going to have to, on the census, identify as gay. So this is why I asked when it came to these, I'm going to come back for a second. When it came to these campaigns, Adidas, and these campaigns of Dylan Mulvaney, a man like dressing like a woman, gracing the Bud Light can, I was asking, well, if the corporations are losing money, what are they benefiting? They're promoting something. They're promoting something that will benefit them in the long run. Right? It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with pushing a satanic agenda. That's prophetic. They don't even care about the money. The money's, even the government money, is going towards the children and others who will outright state that they identify as gay. More. Releasing one of the largest LGBTQ inclusive federal household surveys to the Census Bureau, Pulse Survey, which provided vital and timely data about the higher rates of economic housing. What? Economic housing? While our people are getting put out on the streets, living in tent cities? Economic housing, food, while our people starve, insecurity that the letter people households faced during the COVID-19 pandemic. So what did gay people experience that straight people didn't experience during that? People are people, right? Releasing a comprehensive consensus study from the Department of Health and Human Services on measuring sexual orientation and gender identity data to inform research on how to best serve the letter people who are Americans, and improving the ability of all Americans to accurately provide personal gender identity information on federal forms, including by offering passports with X gender markers for the first time, and removing onerous requirements for updating gender information with the Social Security Administration. Folks, they passed this right up under your noses. When I say I'm bringing the facts, I'm bringing the facts. all of our people suffering, and in order for them to get access to some money that will give them immediate help, they would have to identify as one of these. And I started off with showing that at first it was about the man, the image of man. A strong man represented what to the world? A strong nation. And the women had protection. There was no women nowhere back then talking about there's no men to protect me. The damsel in distress was socially engineered into the psyches of all men who are willing to die for our women. But they seek to break that. Even in the wake of losing money, they have a man donning a one-piece for Adidas swimwear. You talking about some psychological warfare. Now, like I said, this doesn't threaten me. This doesn't threaten a man. This threatens women. See, what they wanted to do for years was demonize men to a degree where men and women could no longer see eye to eye. To a point where men and women can no longer bear one another. And at the same time, they would pull all the people out of the closet that would shape the next agendas to keep men and women fighting against each other by using Hollywood through Tyler Perry and others so that we can be at odds with each other, and use Hollywood to show men as buffoons publicly so that there'll be no one to protect the women from their newly found friends. It came a time where it was cute in the community for sisters to have a gay friend. Folks, I'm going to tell you, folks, where this is going. This threatens women, not men, not real men. This threatens women. Because not only are they going to look to beat the women as a woman in everything, having some low-level vitriol and hatred that they're not expressing publicly against them. Not only are they going to talk about beating and destroying the women, and by default, destroy their children. It's not just about that. Now, if they identify with women as a woman, they'll be able to take all the money that's left for our women. Okay? Because this guy right here, they're not taking nothing from white women. You can forget about that. Okay? See, they got this guy gracing the Bud Light can. See that? Look at it. Sports Illustrated. They have a man on Sports Illustrated now. And it started out well before then, when a lot of our so-called athletes got up and cheered Bruce Jenner as Caitlyn. As what? Sports woman of the year? And now, the White House is financing it. Nothing for us. Everything for them. So here lies the question, Elder Lawya. You with me?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put this question out there real quick, Elder Lawya. For parents first. Men and women. We're going to go into the scriptures. I want to just do a short monologue to show us where we're going at with what will befall a broken world. Where does this go? If there's no men to protect anyone, and there's no men with the propensity to want to protect anything, because men have taken their hand off of the rudder, off of the steering wheel, and say, you know what? Y'all deal with this thing on autopilot. We're bailing out of here. That's where men are now. And now women are held in all these positions, not realizing they only gave women the authority over the cockpit of a plane that was on its way down. That's why they putting women in mayor for Philadelphia, this, that, and the other, over police departments, over fire departments. Don't you know the optics from the outside looking in is showing America as weak? And through that, it's broken and will never come back to the glory that it once was when men were respected in position. This was a very patient plan of Satan. Very patient. But here we are. And it comes down to us now, right? I can expect the White House to do what they're doing. Okay. To finance everything against what's right. I expect them to do this. I expected them to do this, right? So it comes down to us. Now we understand that there is no hope in the White House. There never was. Parents, men and women, what are you enacting? What are you willing to do to get in front of the Sodomites' influences on our children? Or is it too late? I'm going to put that out there again. Parents, men and women, what are you willing to do to get in front of the Sodomites influencing your children? Or is it too late? I frame that question that way. I know it's very provocative. It's out there to have you think outside the box. Is it too late? Or should we take a concerted effort to understand that these people are getting financed by the government as influencers? Listen to what we're telling you here. Let me read this. I'm going to read this. Bud Light, the U.S. top-selling beer of 2022, according to an online liquor retailer. Right? Hold on. Finds itself at the center of controversy after announcing to collaborate with trans rights activist Dylan Mulvaney. So this is not just a man dressed like a woman. This is an activist, an influencer. See? So if you're an activist, what are you acting? What are you an activist on behalf of? What are you pushing? This is why Bud Light don't care if they lose money. They're going to win on the other side. The greatest currency isn't money. The greatest currency, folks, have always been people. Hold on, Elder Lawya. Bring it in real quick. The greatest currency, let me repeat this again. Let me repeat this again. The beer company is in the heat of a controversy after announcing its collaboration with trans rights activist Dylan, a man's name, Dylan Mulvaney. So how does this profit the corporations, brothers and sisters? You know how? Because the greatest currency, this is how they lie to you, make you believe, oh man, they're just doing that for money. They're greedy. Folks, money have never been the highest currency on earth. That's what they had you believe. People are the highest currency. See? People. So if they can influence people, they can get the people to do what they want to do. That comes out as currency for the corporations. They don't care about the money. They make the money. Money is just used by them as a form of control. They're not going to confuse me. He's an activist. This is why Bud Light is willing to sacrifice its brand and its future stock. Because by putting him out there, they're in hopes of one of your children aspiring one day, one of your boys aspiring one day to grace the front of one of their brands for a few dollars. That's what it's about. They know that our children are impressionable, and they see, well, okay, if this is how I can get attention and money, hey, so be it. So they're putting it out there because they know more young men will choose to be a woman. Because why? Young men are looking at it as women get all the benefits anyway. They're the damsels in distress. There's extra money. If there's abuse, there's money there. They can go down and get housing. They can get this. They can get that. Hey, young boys are going to say, listen, I get nothing as a man. All right. But if I can switch this thing up, I can get everything that belongs to women. So that's the currency they want. And the reason they want that, I'm going to show you in a moment. Dylan Mulvaney, man, another influencer. They call this guy right here an influencer. Kim Petras. Yeah, that's born a boy. See that right there? Yeah, those are men ribs right there. And you can't see the 6-pack because the water is happening right here. But there's a 6 to 8-pack going on right here. And a Grammy Award winning artist and history maker wasn't enough. Kim Petras is now adding SI swimsuit cover model to her list of accomplishments. Born a boy. Influencer. Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
Let's jump right in. What will befall a broken world? So on you.
All right. Did you want me to go into the scriptures or?
I need us to go straight to when the Sodomites came to Lot's door. Because
Yes, sir.
this is what will befall the world. People don't know. It was never about equal rights or being able to have property rights to a partner like they claim. It was never about marriage with them. Okay. It was, all in all, this is my opinion, allegedly. All in all, when I look at this agenda, what does it have to do with marriage? No one ever stopped them from getting together and having legal papers to leave things to. Hey, I'm an insurance guy. You can make anyone the beneficiary of your estate or your finances or anything with a will, regardless of whether or not it's male or female. So when they told me, well, we want to be married so that we can have the same rights as straight couples when it comes to things being left to our loved ones and our partner and all that mess. I'm like, come on, man. You can leave anything to a person you would like. It was more so as a way to mock marriage and to devalue marriage before the world. To devalue it to a degree where even man and woman don't even take it as sacred anymore, as anything sacred. Let's go to when they came to the door. The Sodomites came to the door, because this is where we are. Let's go. Let's go directly. And we did this last Sunday, folks. Last Sunday we went into the fall of Sodom and Gomorrah and showed the archaeological proof. And I'm going into more of that next academy. Till this day, those 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah smell of sulfur. It smells like it was on fire, one big barbecue. Fire rained down on Sodom because of what we're witnessing in America right now. Chapter and verse, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Genesis 19, verse number 4.
Come on.
But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came unto thee this night? Bring them out.
Where are the men that came unto thee this night? I'm gonna pull it up on the screen so they can see it, Elder Lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Thank you, Elder Lawyer. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Genesis 19, verse number 5.
Yep.
And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them.
Bring them out to me that we may know them. Folks, the 2 men who walked into Lot's house were actual angels. The Sodomites had so much political pull and power that if any stranger would come into the city, it wasn't long before everyone knew that a stranger was there they could either rob, scam, or physically deal with. Scamming started in Sodom and Gomorrah. We went in that too. How you see this guy, this so-called Umar Johnson, run around talking about since 2009, give me some money for some school for boys, for school for boys and all that. That was Sodom and Gomorrah, folks. Finding new schemes and ways of taking advantage of people with false promises. That was Sodom and Gomorrah. So it wasn't just the immorality that came through perverse sexuality. It was, so all of these things that happens when you allow immoral behavior amongst civilians, the undertones of all of that is molestation, scamming, everything against family. All of that is the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah. But when it came to its height, they were so politically dug in, brothers and sisters, that if new people came into the city, these so-called politicians, these Sodomites, were on it. 2 men came into Lot's house, the righteous, and they said, what? Let's read it.
It says, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them.
Bring them out. These are men now. Bring them out so that we can deal with them. This is what happens when you allow scamming, evildoers to fester amongst a community. No one's safe. The children are molested. The women are taken advantage of. And eventually, it creeps its way up to the higher rungs of the political system. To where now they feel entitled to the people in your home. They feel entitled to them. So what happens when they get over your learning institutions called school, which is indoctrination centers? What happens? Well, when you at work, they feel they're entitled to your children. And hey, don't let there be some level of what they would deem neglect in that home. They're looking for that, allegedly. because now they can separate that child from you more than 6 to 8 hours a day. So now they came out and say, bring those men out so that we may know them. Jailhouse behavior, folks. Come on.
Verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly.
Do
Behold
not
now.
so wickedly. Read.
Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man.
I have 2 daughters, they're virgins. Why don't you do the right thing? I'm willing to marry you off. Bring your sons here and let's do it right. Okay? Get together with a woman. I'll marry you to a girl. I have 2 daughters here. Straighten your life out and do what's right. Marry a girl. Read.
I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes.
Come on.
Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will so needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them?
He says, listen, since you in the way of us cutting loose on these men in your house, guess what? We're going to do you first. See, this is what happens when you make an agenda and you incentivize anti-God behavior. And what's going on? The White House is doubling down on this. See? They're like, nah, we're not going to give you poor people any money in the neighborhoods. The only minority we're going to give is these people, the letter people, $10 million this year so that now we can help deal with what they're dealing with. But really, they're financing a social army against us. See? If these people have all the political pull, that means if our people need any help in our society, social programs, we have to go through them now for help in our communities. He will need be judged now. We will deal worse with thee, read.
Than with them.
Come on.
And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door.
And they came to break the door, folks. They tried to break down the door. They felt entitled. You in our town. And this is what happens when these people gain notoriety and political power over the cities. They feel entitled to the people. Chicago belongs to us. Philadelphia is ours. Your children are ours. See? Read.
Verse 10. But the men put forth their hand and poured Lot into the house to them and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door.
Come on.
Verse number 12. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place.
Bring them out of this place. Now, before this, right before this, these angels sat at meat with Abraham a day beforehand. And Abram prayed to our God Almighty, Ahia, prayed to him and say, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? If there be 50 in the city of Sodom that you're sending those angels to that are right, will you save the city? And our God said, Abraham, for your sake, if there's 50 righteous, I'll save the city. Then he went down 50, 55, 40, 45, 40, 30, 35. If there's 10 people right in the city, we'll save it. The angels told Abram, we're going to walk at night and walk 24 hours and walk through the city of Sodom. If there were 10 people right, he would have saved the city. So obviously, they were able to indoctrinate the whole city into this wickedness. Hence the reason why we see a bill that can go towards the LGBTQ letter movement while our people are suffering in the streets, living in tent cities in a free country, one of the most rich countries on earth. They're living outside. But yet there's money for those people only if they can identify as a different sexuality. (13), he says, for we will destroy this place. Come on.
Yes, sir, for we will destroy this place because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord. And the Lord have sent us to destroy it.
And the Lord have sent us to destroy it. I went into this Sunday where it says, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. Amos 9:8. Because when you see people go off from masculinity, from the damsel of distress prototype as a nation, when you can no longer recognize a male from a female and all these others, folks, life will soon seek to exist anyway. This is what happens when you incentivize the mentally ill over the population. See? So the angel said, Lot, get your family together. We're raining down on this place. And folks, there's proof right now. Listen, the Jews be over the Middle East. They know what I'm telling you is true. They know that the Bible is real. They know there's archaeological proof of all these areas that were destroyed by our God. But yet they don't talk about that, in the Western world, on how everything that God destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah is on steroids here in America, and America will soon face the same fate. See? I'm going to tell you. Read on, Elder Lawyer.
Sir, verse number 14.
Come on.
And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
So he warned his own sons-in-laws. He warned them and they mocked him. They're like, man, get out of here, man. Ain't nothing going to happen. The same as when you speak to your family and people.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing going to happen, man. We thriving. I'm going to a party tonight. Yeah. It's going to rain fire. Okay. Yeah. Read the 15th verse.
Yes, sir. Verse 15. And when the morning arose, and the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city.
Set him out the city. Read.
Verse 17, and it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed.
Read.
Verse number 20.
Now let's go down to his wife.
Yes, sir. Verse number 26. In fact, I'll read 23. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and that which grew upon the ground. Verse 26. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
And she became a pillar of salt. Now, there's many quotes where Christ continually remind those during his time to remember Lot's wife. Her heart was always into the city. Her heart was in the city. And guess what, folks? Check this out. Check this out. Let me show you. It says, remember Lot's wife. There go a picture right there of that pillar of salt. Lot's wife, who was turned to a pillar of salt. See, we have the archaeological proof. In the same area that the angels took them out of the city on the outside. A pillar of salt on Jebel Azdum, hill of Sodom, the mountain of salt on the western shore of the Dead Sea, exactly where the Bible says it happened. Who is it? Lot's wife. Tell me the Bible isn't true. Tell me the Bible isn't true. Remember Lot's wife. The fire is coming. Now, Elder Lawya, real quick. Let me put this out of the way. I wanted to show that real quick. Remember Lot's wife. Now, some people might ask, well, how is it in the corporate structure's interest to do this to a country that was once great? What do they get out of this? Well, it tell you in Revelation 17 that the 10 horns will hate the whore, and burn her with fire. First, you have to present America as weak. The 10 horns is Europe. They're behind all of this. They're the corporations that has made America weak or naked before the world. And they want to portray America as weak so that they can have power 1 hour with the beast. So at the end of it, Europe will rule before Christ returns. They're pulling the plug. They are pulling the plug. They've placed America on cruise control, folks. And guess what? There's no one at the helm. There's no one at the wheel. Just a matter of time. So viewing Lot and what happened with Lot's wife, it comes down to we've gone to our family, we've talked to our family and others and let them know what time it was. And guess what? Have been mocked, just like Lot's son-in-laws mocked him. And it comes a time where we really have to save ourselves from the fire to come. That's what it comes down to. But in the interim, because we do have some time, we have some time. In the interim, what are we willing to do to protect our children from them? And I want to hear this. Now, when I speak to y'all tonight, understand we are on a public forum here. We cannot threaten no one. We can't claim to do harm to anyone. But there's things that you can actually institute in your home to secure your children from these influences, from what they're pushing. Right? Right? And I know some people are saying, well, hold up. This is a Bible show. Why are we showing some of these things? And I know it's offensive and all that, but folks, I'm going to tell you this right now. And it's upon adults to understand when we're bringing something forth to protect minors. But if we don't get in front of you and show you what's going on, guess what? What do you think those sodomites are doing in our absence? Here's the reality of the world we're living in today. Here's the reality. Where they're willing to show a man in a onesie, calling them a woman without any women pushing back on, in number. I'm going to tell you, man, and this is what a lot of things I don't like, Elder Lawya, is misplaced outrage.
Right.
Misplaced outrage. You would think that sisters would be equally outraged with a man in a onesie claiming to be a black woman. Just as outraged when they see a cop shoot a black guy. Where's your outrage? When you see a man have been emasculated as such, that doesn't seem like death to you? That don't make you inquire to what have happened to this boy? Who dropped the ball on this child, or who adopted this child that he would grow up and be happy with a onesie in a swimsuit? Misplaced rage. We are enraged when they trigger us to get enraged, when it benefits them. What are we going to do to get in front of this? Or is it too late? Elder Lawya, you have the last word before I open up the calls, because I want to hear what the people have to say.
Yes, sir. Well, if you would like, we can actually go straight to the calls. I'm actually interested to hear some of the responses and some of the insight of the brothers and sisters to see what their thoughts are, of course, of what they saw, but also what are they doing as far as getting their children, getting in front of it to ensure that their children are protected from this type of imagery, this type of propaganda. One thing I would like to mention, as you just stated, we know it's tough. It's hard to look at these types of things. It's a sword to the eyes. But the reality is that we sometimes have to show you the fullness to some degree of what they're promoting, because the reality is that for their side, they're not curtailing the imagery. They're not curtailing their message. They're coming straight forward and showing exactly what they desire to be the messaging for your children when you're talking about shows. I don't know what term you would use for these types of shows, but you have men who dress up like women and read story time to children.
It's called drag story time.
Yeah, drag story time. I'm trying to curtail the language. I'm not sure exactly what we can say on here, but nonetheless, yes, drag story time, along with drag. What would you call it? Where they're dancing for children. They're doing obscene dancing in front of children.
Yeah,
what would be the?
Yeah.
I guess that's it. Obscene dancing for children. So the point I'm making is the fact that they're not curtailing the message. They're coming straight forward and they're letting it be known exactly what they desire for your children to receive from their community. So when we bring these things out, we have to bring it in a way that you understand the reality and also understand the urgency of what's coming down the pipe. And really, to even say coming down the pipe is an understatement, because it's already here. It's no longer what society is going to be or what society will be. It's what society has become. And no matter how much people push back, if you want to look at other examples with certain cartoons, certain movies that have come out that have been promoted with certain liberal agendas, people not necessarily buying into it or liking those movies or those cartoons, and people speaking out against it, but it doesn't stop the producers of these movies from putting these things out to show you, as we've mentioned, that it's not about the money. It's about planting the seeds for the next generation, and to show you that the minds of your children are more valuable than any amount of money that these corporations could gather. It's about the minds of our children, because the reality is that our children will be the generation or the next generation of consumers. So they have to get started early with the agendas that will be sold to our children in the future, so that our children become that next generation of not only consumers, but also they want our children to carry on the ideology. But outside of that,
well, the Lawya, I wonder, is there a coincidence with what they're doing right now and giving all this money and finances to the letter people, or incentivizing people to cross over to receive any financial help? Is there any connection to that, and the fact that when I showed those men and how when I was growing up, it was all about promoting America or our people or Americans as a whole with a strong male patriarchal front. And I wonder if this is an example Let me show you this here. I wonder, is there a coincidence that at the same time, Biden is putting another 10 million towards the letter group, that every branch, mainstream news, y'all getting this academy, folks, we pushing that news. I'm going to tell you to let you know what's really going on, to let you know it's all connected. Every branch of the military is struggling to make its 2022 recruiting goals, official says. Recruitment to defend America by men is at an all-time low, and that was 22. Okay? The numbers are as frightening when it comes to who's willing to stand up and fight for your own country. And speaking of men, for 2023, men have bailed out. Now, when you don't have men willing to fight for its own country, you have to start asking questions. Why? Why have men given up? When there's no damsel in distress, when there's no family or legacy to fight for, why even join? That's why Satan set this up. They set up a competitive ground where man would compete with woman. Woman would compete with man. Instead of working together to provide legacy for children. And the Sodomites' fingerprints, handprints are all on that agenda to destroy the family. And now men are saying, well, listen, men are just, I'm hearing what young people are saying. And it doesn't matter whether or not people agree or disagree with it. It's not about that. It's not about that. We have to understand what happens to a society when men are no longer willing to fight for it. Fight for a nation. What happens to a nation? It falls. When men are saying, well, listen, I'm going somewhere else to find a family. Eventually, the family going to be someplace else where their heart will be to protect that country because their family lives there. This is where we are, folks. And I don't think it's a coincidence. The same time they're pulling the plug, recruitment to defend the country is at an all-time low. And brothers and sisters, I believe, my opinion right now, I believe this is intentional. And I think it's all connected. Who want to protect the country when these are the things, when these are the initiatives, a man in a swimsuit, a young man on a Bud Light can. Bud Light used to represent masculinity, especially amongst the whites. Who want to fight for a country that doesn't respect the men? That is willing to show their young men born in the country emasculated before the world. And then who's going to protect the women and children then? If men no longer are willing to protect them. And it's a tough deal when it comes to protection because protection comes with a trade-off. Men really don't have the propensity to protect anything that they can't correct. And it all intertwines into the same thing where men are saying, you know what? The country have made me useless. I don't feel any usefulness to protect or to build or to do anything. There's no appreciation anymore. And the only men that are celebrated that our children can see are men who are willing to choose to be girls. 515-605-9327. Come on in. I would like to really hear this, and keep in mind, June 25th begins a new Hebrew and Bible Academy. We're going to have a master class where we're going in strictly in archaeology and history. We're going to hit those chalkboards and break it all down. You have charts, everything. You're going to have, it's going to be school with a Bible lesson. So the whole theme is going to be the master class, archaeology and history, 3 full months of straight archaeology and history in the academy starting June 25th. Go to historytimes.org to be a part of it. Okay. And this academy, I'm getting great reviews. People are telling me how outstanding it is, how we're breaking things down, because we're breaking it down, the light against darkness, the spiritual realm, good against evil, so that brothers and sisters can choose a side and know what? There's a definite line between light and darkness. So if we can show forth what that is, it gives brothers and sisters within the class the information to show others on how to choose a side. What does darkness look like? And what is our fight against that darkness? Okay. So we're going into spiritual warfare throughout this 3 months. We have what, three more lessons left? 2 more lessons? Well, 3 more left. And then we're going to jump right into the next installment, June 25th. So I hope you're there. historytimes.org. All right. Now let's jump on the lines here. The lines are open. Let's jump on the lines. And Elder Lawyer, you can share and with answering a few questions with me.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. Hold on.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN.
Lawyer, let me call you. Oh, here it is. Here it is right here. All right. Ramar is coming in now. Hold on. All right. Ramar has it. All right. Get ready to call in 515-605-9327. Sorry about that, Elder Lawyer. Let me call in, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Add participants. And I need to hear your opinions out there. Parents, men, women. What are you willing to do to get in front of these sodomites influencing our children?
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Unmuted.
832 area code. You have a comment or question?
Okay, Elder Ramar, I think I can hear myself. If you may, please just I'm in now, okay? 347 area code.
Oh, good evening, Elder. I have a comment.
Yes.
A few days ago, I was getting some things together, and my granddaughter. See, I like to save the packaging, from the meat, the foam packaging, and I save those because I can write. Well, you can make shrinky-dinks from them by heating them in the oven, making them, and I would use those to write key Bible verses on that I wanted to have handy, and I'm going to put them like on a little charm, not a charm bracelet, but more like a charm belt I was going to have. And I was fighting with my granddaughter over one piece. I said, well, what do you want it for? She says, I want to make a gay poster for this. And I said, why would you want to do that? Anyway, she was talking about it, that she wanted to make it at school because she wanted to support them. And I told her, I said, well, you don't want to do that. And she says, why not? So I told her that, you really don't want to get into that. And I told her about, you don't want to approach it. Well, you don't want to act like you hate them. Well, you don't have to hate them, but just don't support him. You're just not into that. And she says, well, Uncle Weldon was gay, that. I said, yes, I know. And I'm sure right now he's, in torment now because he didn't repent. And so I said I was going to have a talk with her mother and tell her to reinforce her that,
Well, let's start here, sister.
don't support that.
Sister, let's start here. How old was she again? How old was she?
She's 9.
9 years old.
She's 9 years old.
And you say it's your niece?
My granddaughter.
Your granddaughter is 9 years old, and she came from school with a project from school?
Well, she said, I think she said they were going to do something like that at school, and I told her, well, really
I'm trying to get some details. What, she got a project from school to do something for Gay Pride Day? Is what I'm asking you?
But that's what she said.
That's what she said.
Arguing with me over this. Yeah, it was what the phones that packaging that meat comes in, like white phone packaging.
Yeah.
And I would save those because you can put those, with heat, it'll shrink and harden into hard packaging.
Okay, well, here's the question. Here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
What does her parents have to say about that?
Well, I said I was going to have a talk with her mother about it, but like before that, when my brother-in-law was still living, I said something to my daughter. I said, how can I approach him about this? No,
sister,
I wanted to approach my brother-in-law.
Stick with me real quick. Let's keep it on the 9-year-old real quick. If we can stay in there, because I'm trying to really paint. I'm really trying to have it illustrate an example before everyone who's watching and listening right now, because maybe they can take cues from it.
Okay.
Let's just stay with the 9-year-old. She comes home from school. She has a project to do some type of art thing to celebrate Gay Pride. She comes home excited about it, and you become alarmed. Immediately after that, did you go to the mother and say, this is something that we need to discuss immediately? Or is it something that you've just allowed to, just to fester, or to or you dealt, or something you would deal with down the line? How long ago was this?
This was like about a few days ago. It might have been just before our lesson on Sodom and Gomorrah, and I had said to her that I was gonna, reiterate to her mother,
2 days ago
in the lesson. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 days ago, and you haven't spoken to the mother yet, right?
I said I was gonna, when she had time to. She works and she gets home late. She's in cosmetology. She's a beautician, and so her hours are irregular. And so sometimes she comes in, and so I said I was going to have her, sit down and talk with her and go over in detail.
What about her father?
What I learned. They're not together.
Okay,
she
so
talks to her father.
Okay, so
but
okay, listen. Let me get in something here, and then you can say something.
Okay.
You got a cosmetologist who works many hours, who isn't around a 9-year-old girl the majority of the time, and this girl has received a project from school to actually celebrate Pride Day, celebrating gay and lesbian activity.
Right.
So there's no way a 9-year-old girl would have that as a project unless someone presented that as a project. Right? So this is listen.
She just told me that.
I understand.
Don't know if it was actually assigned or not. She told me that because she wanted this piece of.
I understand.
This piece of.
I understand what you're saying, sister, but I'm trying to give you a greater understanding of what happens here, and I was talking about that in the academy. How children, you have to realize some of these people, when it comes to looking into other children, some children are targeted because they understand the behaviors of daughters or young boys who aren't getting the attention at home like the other children in a two husband, what a father and mother household. So automatically these children can be isolated and be slowly but surely groomed into the agendas. If the mother's working countless hours and now the daughter is to herself saying, yeah, grandmommy, I got an LGBTQ project. Shouldn't that sound an alarm? My hair is on fire right here. That someone is actually, coaxing this along. Think about it, because I was 9 years old. Sister, I was 9 years old, outside, 15th and Diamond, shooting jumpers, right? Kept on shooting jumpers right there on the foul line. Okay. The school teacher come out and say, I need you to meet the coach of the basketball team. You think you want to stay after school because you hit a few in a row. You think you want to become a part of the basketball team. They see me out there and they understood that I could be utilized for the team. So if there's a young girl, there's no father around, and now she's coming with this project that she's excited about, right? Obviously, when she go to school, she know that whoever she's turning this project into is going to give her that attention for her creativity based on a prior conversation that happened outside of the family. Shouldn't your hair be on fire? Shouldn't your daughter's hair be on fire right now? To go up to that school and find out what teacher suggested this project.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. You should.
All right. So soon you probably want to call her tonight. Is she home?
No, not yet. She hasn't come home yet.
And who watches the girl while she's at work?
Well, I've been watching her.
She's there with you now?
Yes, she's here with me now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you probably a good idea to probably speak to her mother about it as soon as possible.
Okay.
When I was coming up, little girls 9 year old, they were more so dealing with oatmeal raisin recipes and how to sew. They weren't dealing with LGBTQ projects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just alarmed because we all know where this goes. Because it won't be too long if she's doing that pride thing and happy about it. Don't be so shocked when she's at 11, 12 years old and now she's identifying as one of those letters.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
All right. Okay. Now I have one question.
Yeah.
This deals with last week's Academy with the news when they were talking about the seeing everything coming on your smartphone and everything, and so many things, and it brings to mind. Well, even the new laundry system in this apartment building. You need your smartphone to even start, to load your money on there and start the machines. And I just thinking of so many things that's coming on there. And so I got to wondering if, we can kind of stave off some of this digital so much stuff as if, I know some of us older people, we can kind of say, maybe get away with saying, well, I don't know how to work this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do this or that. But I mean, like, younger people, the next generation, you can say, I lost my phone. I dropped my phone in the sink, or this or that. I was wondering if those type of things could kind of stave off some of this
Nope.
digital stuff that they're trying to get to.
Nope.
No.
No, we're living in a world of progression, and the reality is, progress waits for no one. So they're gonna hurry this thing along, and whoever doesn't fall in suit with with where it's going, you'll just fall through the cracks. They're not staving anything off. Progress waits for no one. They're going all the way to the mark of the beast, and it's gonna come a time where you're gonna have people that's gonna say, "Well, I need to opt out of this altogether, or I have to play the game of transhumanism." That's just what it is.
Oh, okay.
Nah. Just because someone, just because a large number of people are saying that, okay, I can't do this right now because I don't have my phone, is it going to stop them from progressing their agendas? Because it's not about the money for them. It's about control. It's about the control.
No.
So they don't care if people come together and say, well, we're not going to spend. They don't care about that. It's about progressing the system and controlling those who are willing to give up their freedoms to continue their way of life, to continue the beast way of life. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you, sister.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. I'm going to place you on hold. All right. And I'm going to say, I do want to apologize for some of the images, even though those images, they highlight exactly the progression that's going on within our systems. And I had to apologize. I know a lot of you, it's shocking to see what's out there, but the reality is they're pushing it out there. We're letting you know it's out there and get in front of it. Why? Because we need to know what you're going to do to get in front of it. These influencers are working in public view, and what we've just mentioned, like this conversation. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for this program tonight, it would have jogged that spirit we heard tonight where a grandmother would say, well, hold up. I didn't get an opportunity to speak to my daughter about her grandchild who's being influenced right now. Okay. And I know sometimes it's provocative and all that. And, we don't put racy stuff up in that. But folks, this is mainstream media. This is what's going on. It's being pushed on our children. And we can operate as if we're ostriches sticking our head in the sand and saying, well, let's not show anything that our children are probably looking at 8 to 10 hours a day while we're at work. Or put it in your face, let you to deal with it so that we can stop obfuscating, stop ignoring the obvious. Right? Okay, we have Shamar on the line with a comment, and I do have an announcement on some scammers out there. Some scammers out there in the overseas. I'm going to talk about them too. Shamar, how are you doing, my brother?
Doing good. Shalom, Elder.
Bless you.
Bless you. I just have a comment. Just want to chime in.
Yes, floor is yours.
All right, Elder. So, first off, appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Love that academy. I've been in, I don't know how many came in kind of, but
thank you.
Just want to say that this is a great segue from the lesson that you guys taught on Sunday. But
yes.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to say that what's going on with this agenda right now is crazy right now, because we live in a rural area, and usually a lot of the things that was going on in the city, you didn't see it in the rural areas. But now, I've been in the troops since 2012, was baptized in 2013.
Okay.
You saw a lot of things, but it wasn't as compressed as it was in the city. But now, it's on slow to even in the rural areas. It's so much to the point where you have to really guard your children's eyes when you take them out. Some of the things that me and my wife do, that obviously, we try to be the best example of what an actual traditional family is supposed to look like within the home. But you having to explain, for instance, you go to a Walmart and you got one of the letter people that's a biological man dressed up as a woman with the voice of a man, and it's very confusing to the church.
That's deep. Elder Lawya, I need you to pull up Blog Talk for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Pull up Blog Talk because I want you to take the calls. All right, finish what you have to say, Shamar.
Oh.
Right. So, there was this one, without going into too much detail, there was this one, I guess, trans, whatever, I don't know what they titles are, but in a little small town, this guy exposed like 12 people, and one of these guys was a so-called pastor or minister or something like that. And you don't want to believe it, but when a person is naming things within the homes and pulling out receipts, and these people can't even, it's sick, man. And it's going on in small cities now, small towns now. Man, we right there in Revelation when the Bible says that, the place that is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, and we right here, man. That's
we
all
are.
I want to say.
Hey, brother, let me tell you, they're looking to move this thing through every place. These little small witch towns and all that. But brother, you stay girded up in the spirit and protect and guide as many people as you can before this thing falls, brother. And thank you for all your support. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir.
So you got Blog Talk up right now?
Yes, I'm on the dashboard in Blog Talk.
Okay, you can
I'm not sure, however, if. Okay, I'll try it out and see how it works as far as the audio. I'll see.
It'll work. Yeah, you just sit there and you can talk directly to. They'll hear you since you're on Blog Talk.
Right.
All right. So 1 second, I have to attend to something. 1 second, folks. Are you going to take the calls?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Thawada.
All right, so Elder Rawchaa, we can move on to the next question or comment. All right, Elder Rawchaa, can you hear me? All right, so I'll try it this way. You all let me know out there. I'm going to pull up the chat here for YouTube to just make sure you all can hear me as I speak. Okay, let me just pull up the chat. All right, I'm pretty sure you out there, you all in YouTube land can hear me nice and clearly. Okay, the issue, I'll tell you what, let me try to actually call into Blog Talk. I have the studio up, but let me try to call into Blog Talk. One moment.
Shalom, Elder. There is a delay. I'm in the queue now. We have Mimi up. Mimi is up next.
Okay, so you can hear me, but there's a delay.
Yeah, I was on the YouTube.
Okay.
I'm in the Blog Talk now, so we have Mimi with a comment.
Okay, great. All right, Shalom, Sister Mimi.
Elder,
what's your comment? I'm well. Thawada.
Hi. Thawada. So it's crazy because I was actually in hair school, and this was the time where everybody was wearing masks. You couldn't really see, like you have to wear a mask in order to get to like the back of the room. And so one day I heard like this deep voice speak out, and I look over and he has on all type of makeup. I mean, he's wearing wigs. He has like the whole, the augmentation of the women's breasts. And he was saying, like how he is preferred a woman. He would like to be called a woman. He had a woman name and everything. And he was allowed to use the women's bathroom. And he was like how he had to present all this documentation in order to show the school that he had a sex change, in order to use our bathrooms, and that we had to call him by his preferred name, and that we had to address him as a woman. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that, like that really goes against my religious beliefs. I just prefer, to call him, him. I don't have to call you by your name or whatever. As long as you don't speak to me, I won't have to speak to you. You know what I'm saying? You just stay on your lane, and, I just stay on my lane. And so we had this exercise, they were purposely pairing him up with me for me to paint his nails, do his hair. And I was just, I felt really, I felt like they were doing that on purpose because they knew that I could not, really indulge in things like that. And they were telling me that they were going to fail me if I did not do it. And I was asking, well, can I get someone else? And they were like, no, and this, that, and third. And I was, I really did get upset about it. So we had another guy that was also in there. So, but he didn't wear all the makeup and
I'm sorry,
like,
sister, before you move on to the other guy,
okay.
let's first find out. You expressed that you have based on your religious beliefs, you have a way of life and an ideology that is to be protected and respected according to the will of God, according to the word of God, and according to the laws of God. On the other hand, this guy has a persuasion that's based upon basically whatever comes to his mind. My question for you is, has there been any level of, I guess you would say, has there been any thing to protect your religious rights, or has any advice been offered, or has anything been offered to protect your rights as a believer, the same way his rights are protected as someone who came to a mental revelation that somehow he is a gender outside of what he's been born?
No, they have not. They even told me that like they would have classes where they have to do it on a Sabbath, and I would tell them, I couldn't come, but they would have me fail. They even told me I couldn't even wear my head wrap in school unless it was of certain colors because it offended other people. And I'm like, I really don't understand. Like, I really don't understand. They were like, well, if you're not comfortable using the bathroom with her, then you can wait until she come out, or you're more than welcome to use the male's restroom when the male is not in there. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that sounds like a discrimination case to me.
Yes. And like I said, they had another guy that was there, but he did not dress as, he did not dress feminine or anything like that. And he was actually like, he made it known to the school that he was actually withdrawing on drugs and that he wanted to be called Gabby. And
this is the other guy.
Yes, in the school, yes. He could not stand me, Elder Lawya. He could not stand me. He would purposely take my parking spaces from me. Like, we had assigned parking spaces. He would purposely move there, fight with the school and things like that. I mean, starting arguments, talking about how he's a real woman. He was with my butt, this, that, and the third. And it got to the point where I was telling the school, like, listen, I have a husband, okay? And this right here, this is a full-grown male. For his safety and my safety, I would advise you guys just to split us up. Because if I have to, I will call my husband, because this is a big guy. He was probably about 6'3". I mean, he was getting so irritated that a lot of women would not address him as Gabby, as he wanted to be called Gabby. Do you know this guy brought a gun to the school and told the administrators and the women that if they did not start addressing him by Gabby, what he wanted to call, he would shoot the whole school up. And they had the school on lock, and this was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, let me ask, are you still there?
Oh, no. I have to go.
Okay, so you got the message, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yes, most definitely.
So I was mentioning earlier, I know I mentioned it very quickly, very briefly, that sounds like discrimination. And I'm mentioning that because that's something that you probably want to look into. I know you're not there now, but for those who may be in similar situations, and I want to thank you, Sister Mimi, for your comment. I'm going to put you on hold. Sister, thank you for your call. But yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Shalom, sister. For those of you who are in these types of situations, you probably want to look into finding out the same way when it comes to certain procedures, trying to figure out what protections you have religiously from not having to acquiesce to certain medical procedures. You also want to figure out what are your protections when it comes to someone who is claiming to, let's say they identify under whatever they identify with. There's a lot of things out there today. I'm not going to go through the whole bevy of various things that people decide to identify with. But nonetheless, you have to figure out what are your protections. Because the reality is that it's harping on discrimination. Here it is, you are in a position where you have to ensure that you basically have to walk on eggshells to ensure that you don't offend this individual in their mental, you don't defend them in their, where they are mentally as far as what they identify with. But the same exact protection is not given to you as a person who identifies with a specific faith to ensure that you are protected under your faith. So I think it's time to figure out what protections you have and what action can be taken. The same way, if they're willing to take action, if they feel that they're discriminated against, you have to figure out what steps can you take to make sure that if you are discriminated against, you can take some action. And when I say take action, I'm speaking about lawsuits. I'm talking about things that will benefit you financially down the line. That's another conversation for another day, but that's definitely something you guys want to start looking into, especially those who are in that position. All right, moving on to the next one. I think we got Kay. Kay has a comment.
Shalom, Elder Lawya.
Shalom, Sister Kay. How you
Can
doing?
you hear me? I'm very well, thank you. Yes, my comment is, well, the two pictures that were shown earlier today of the men in inverted commas, it's very disgusting and offensive to me, and I'm sure a lot of other women as well. But I have not seen those photos personally. Otherwise, I definitely would have made my feelings known through comments or whatever. But I'm trying to move away from social media. Anyway, what I really wanted to say is that a neighbor of mine, she had a little girl. Some of the people in the chat may have seen me write about it. But anyway, this little girl was 3 years old, and she refused to wear girls' clothing. And she would go to school when she was 5, and if her mother would dress her in a dress or a skirt, she'd change out of the skirt into trousers. And this has been going on for years. Now, this girl is a woman, and yes, she's got a woman as her partner. She also went to the school prom in a man's suit. Now, personally, I believe if the mother had started to curtail this behavior from when she was like a little girl, from 3 years old, she could have moved her to another school. She could have thrown out every pair of trousers and shorts in the house and just made the girl dress in dresses and skirts only, pure girls' clothing, and also obviously have the Bible there to teach her child that she's a girl and not a boy. I'm sure that the girl would have grown up to be a woman and be married to a man right now, instead of, being with who she is, the letter people, or whatever you want to call them. That was, I mean, I know there was no father in the home, and I believe that if there was a father in the home, that probably the girl would have grown up to be straight. I don't know.
Well, let me ask Sister Kay, do you have children?
No, unfortunately. I got lots of nieces and nephews, though.
Okay. All right. And I asked that question to ask the follow-up, which is, if you had children, if you had been in that scenario or that situation where that was your daughter, what steps would you have taken to ensure that, seeing those signs early on, what steps would you have taken to ensure that that child grew up with a proper understanding of her gender, not only her gender, but the roles that are associated with her gender?
Well, the Bible as a foundation, firstly, to help situate her and root her in the Most High and Yeshua. Secondly, as I said, take away anything that will make her believe that she's a boy, and just keep reaffirming to her that she is a girl, not a boy. Take her out of that school that she was in, because it's obvious that, to me anyway, I believe maybe something happened to her to make her believe that she's a boy. And I would never have allowed her to wear anything that made her think that, yeah, I'm a boy right now. No way. I'd have been very strict on that child.
Yes.
I was brought up. That's how my brothers were brought up. We all know the Bible, so no, that's not going on in my house.
Well, absolutely. And all praise to the Most High for that. And I asked that question because obviously we want to try to give a real-time practical solution for those situations, those real life situations that we've seen, that we've witnessed, and that we've experienced, so that if we find ourselves in that situation, or being that we do have those out there who do have children, what steps should be taken in the case that you have a child that young who seems to be moving towards a particular path. What do you do to get them back on the right path? And obviously, as you mentioned, we want to make sure that the scriptures are the foundation. And as the scriptures say, you have to train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they are older, they do not depart from it. Now, obviously, or I'm going to say apparently, I don't know what discussions they were having in the household, but apparently that first step was not taken as far as training up that child in the way that it should go. Secondly, when it seems like a child that young is making decisions outside of the pay grade of someone that is that young, at 3 years old, I don't think that those conversations, those thoughts, or those ideas should even be present within a child's mind as far as gender and what people call sexuality or what have you. So when those things are present, right, so when those things are present, we have to make diligent inquisition and figure out and investigate how and why. How is it that a child this young is seeming to have some type of identity, gender identity issues? How did this happen? When did these thoughts begin to enter in? Okay. How and why? Okay. When did the infraction come in? When did the intrusion come into this child's mind to make them have questions about something as, I guess you would say, something as adult natured as gender identity? Okay. But I'm going to give you the last comment, sister, before we move on to the next call.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I, as I said, I would make sure I take the right or the correct steps according to the Most High and the Bible to, correct the child. Because, as I said, to me, it's obvious something happened to her. A 3-year-old does not come home, excuse me, with those thoughts in her mind. But the parent was definitely at fault there. And now the child, well, she's a grown woman now. She's she's in her teens or early 20s now. So you can see how long ago that was, that this was happening. So you can see that the agenda is moving forward much quickly than it used to be. It was slower then. Now they just don't care. It's all out there for everybody to see. And people need to be aware of what's going on with their kids. They need to talk to them and also look in their books, because we've seen what's going on with school books now. It's, I don't know if I can say the word, but, the books are terrible. Just put it that way. You can't.
Absolutely.
I would never allow my children to. I would take them out of school anyway, personally. I would take them out of school and homeschool them. I'm not allowing that.
Absolutely. No, and I think that obviously That's the best solution. Homeschooling, being responsible for the destiny of your children and at least with the intake. And Sister Kay, I thank you for
Yeah.
your call. I'm going to put you on hold. Again, thank you for your comment.
Sawada.
All right, all praise to the Most High. So yes, definitely homeschooling is the best solution to control what your children intake, what comes into the view of your children. And obviously, and I know it's not easy, it's not an easy thing, it's not an easy task, but nonetheless, there has to come a time in which we realize that the education of our children is not in the hands of others. Even though we send our children to school and we hope for the best, we pray for the best, and we try to monitor as much as possible what our children intake, what they're being taught, what's in the material that they're receiving. We try you want to try your best to make sure that you have a grasp on that. But at the end of the day, it's no one's responsibility to ensure that your children either succeed. It's no one's responsibility to ensure that your children are taught the right way. It's no one else's responsibility to ensure that your children are receiving the values, the core values that you build the foundation of your family, or that you use to build the foundation of your family on. That's our responsibility. So again, right now and in this time, we understand everyone does not have the luxury to homeschool their children. That's just the reality. But we have to, as much as possible, ensure that when we send our children to school, that they are debriefed when they're home, when they come home from school. We have to make sure that there's conversations being had, that we're looking over that material. There has to be a presence at school. The teachers must know that you are presently and actively involved, proactively involved in the education and the bringing up of your children. And that if anything comes in as an intrusion against the values that you instill in your children, there will be a problem. Moving on to the next call, we have Sister, I think we just got that. Was it Sister Tracy or Sister, did we get Sister Tracy? If so, we'll move on to.
Hello?
Yes, shalom, Sister Tracy.
Hey, how are you? Have you guys heard about what Medicaid is doing in regards to the LGBTQ cult?
I haven't. So obviously you must enlighten me on this. What is Medicaid doing?
Okay. Medicaid has always been for the pregnant woman who couldn't afford to have a baby, 18 and under, like foster kids, 65 and older, the blind and the disabled. And now there's a thing called extended Medicaid, and you'll see them fighting over it when elections come along. Republican states are saying no to it. They're screaming that the Republican states don't care about their people. It goes on, but it's going to cost each state money for the extended Medicaid. But what they put in extended Medicaid is the right for anybody to have Medicaid from the age of 19 on up, when before it was either 19 and under, a foster kid, or 65 and above. And they put in Medicaid now that they have to include gender-affirming surgery, meaning genital surgeries, gender-affirming hormone therapy, voice communication therapy to change their voice to sound like a girl, fertility services, and behavior health. They're making the American people pay for these surgeries. This is Medicaid. And so if like the Republican states don't have extended Medicaid, so they still have to do it for the foster kids 19 and under, or the elderly 65 and older. But if you accept extended Medicaid, you have to do it for all ages. And that's going to be a big bill on the American people. But that is what our government has approved, that Medicaid recipients can get all this surgery for free. That's like $100,000 worth of surgery on Medicaid on the American people. So
let me ask this:
that's something that's a push.
Is this signed into a? Is there a bill or a piece of literature that we can look up to find this information and get the exact details on these laws that have been signed into play?
Yes, you can easily Google you can easily Google what is it called? Gender affirming Medicaid pays for gender affirming care. And then I'll pull up everything from the surgeries to all. And it's also at the National Library of Medicine, which is the NIH, Dr. Fauci. It's at his site it's called MedPub, but you can find it everywhere. It's everywhere. So if you worked for Target or whatever, or say you wanted the surgeries, you could just quit your job for a month, and they'll get you a real low paying job and then go get all your surgeries and then go back to working normal. I mean, it's setting up for people to have these surgeries. And foster kids, I sometimes wonder if half these people running around fighting for this are foster kids. But foster kids will be able to get it with, no problem up until they're 19. And then you can get it over the age of 19 if you make a lower income. So they're switching everything to where now the taxpayers will have to pay for this gender affirming care. And that's crazy. It's like if I wanted a breast reduction, will they pay for that? No. You know what I mean? If you wanted something done on your body, would they pay for it? No. But they are paying for these surgeries through the federal government. And when each state accepts the extended Medicare, that means it's all ages. That means the taxpayers that live in that state have to make up the difference that the federal government doesn't pay, which is like 50. The federal government, I believe, will pay up to 85%. So that means each state will then have to turn around and pay additional 15%, which ranks in the billions of dollars. So they're really pushing it. They're pushing it hard. You can Google it, and it's at the federal government websites. So it's
okay.
Not
well, definitely
somebody wrote it up.
Okay, well, definitely we're going to look into that, and obviously we're seeing the incentivizing of the fall of this country. They're incentivizing their own fall. Sister Tracy, thank you for your comment. Thank you for your call. I'm going to put you on hold and move on to the next call. All right. So yes, we're seeing the incentivizing, as the Bible says. They're turning upside down a thing shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. And they're incentivizing this country being turned upside down. Left is no longer left. Right is no longer right. Up is no longer up. Down is no longer down. Okay, this whole country has been turned inside out. And they're incentivizing it, as we showed you earlier. If someone is not getting attention, or they feel like they're being left out, or whatever the case may be, what's to stop a young man from deciding to say that, well, it seems like those who are transitioning or those who are of a different gender are getting more attention, or though there's only one other gender. So it seems like women are getting more attention than men. Or young girls are getting more attention than young boys. So what's to stop that young man from deciding to now say that I'm going to exercise my right or exercise my ability to use these funds, these incentives, to now go ahead and make this transition? So it's definitely a very, very dark time that we're going into, a very confusing time. And as we mentioned earlier, I don't think that these things are being done necessarily for the generations of the past or even my generation. I think that all of this is being geared towards planting the seeds for the generations that are to come, or the generations of children that are growing up now in this society, to a point where, to some degree, this is going to be all they know. This is going to be normal for them. Okay? For example, there was a time in which Black people accessing the same facilities as white people wasn't the societal norm. And there was a time where there was a generation where they didn't know any such thing. It was a divided society. And then after a while, as things started to transition, You started to see a thing where a society sprung up where the only thing they knew was Black people accessing the same exact facilities and the same exact institutions as white people. It became their societal norm. Well, it's like now we're seeing this same thwarted civil rights or use of civil rights, where right now that for my generation and the generations before, this whole idea of gender dysphoria, the whole idea of feeling that you can be another gender outside of which you were born, and all of these various ideas that we seem to us, it just seems delusional, right? But as time goes on, as they continuously plant these seeds, there's going to come a time in which a generation is going to spring up in which they don't know anything else but this society that we're now, that's being groomed to believe in all of these crazy liberal ideas. So again, it's a very, very dark time that we're going into, but nonetheless, let's move on to the next call. We got Ak Onan. Ak Onan with a comment.
Hey, Shalom, Elder. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear. What's your comment?
I thought it was very key that the elder had brought out what the masculine man, or what a image of a man used to be, in those times where he had, you had the Shaft, you had the Elvis, John Wayne, and even me growing up as a young kid, you had the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme's and what have you. And I think it's important that was pointed out, because, I thought it was important that it was brought out because, Stallone, I'm sorry, because TV itself, it's really a program, you know what I mean, and they use it to tell what type of vision they want us to see. So if you have that where it's been programmed, this is how a man is and this is how a woman is, where you fast forward now, the women are more so the heroes of the cinematic, projects that they put out there, and the man is more like a useless dunce almost, where they kind of just, the woman saving the man, and the man can't put two and two together. So another point is that even though the images were quite, I would say a little graphic, maybe for some viewers, I think it was important to also put that out, is because that's also showing you that you could come across someone, especially someone who's looking like the individual in the sports magazine, where you can't really tell unless you're being told that this is a man. You can't really tell if it is. So it's letting not only the older people know, but the children know that you have to be careful with who you're dealing with, especially if they're outside the church. Like me personally, I can't really control it, but I would promote to my children to please marry someone in the church, because I truly believe that there's nothing out there outside of the Gathering of Christ Church. And the last point I wanted to make is that, there were talks of this, this sickness that everyone was going crazy over a while ago, and being, careful with my wording here. But I'm coming to realize that the true illness that is prevalent and is on high right now is the wickedness. It's not a, I would say a normal type of thing. You come over where you got your body temperature or whatever the situation is. It's a spiritual wicked sickness that is being polluted throughout the whole world. And if we're not careful, and if we don't fear the Most High, that not that looking over your shoulder every 5 seconds, but that true fear, having the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding, and walking circumspectly and not fearing the world, if we don't do that and we're not careful, we could be consumed by that true illness, which is the wickedness. And with that, I yield. Shalom and many blessings to you and Elder Rawchaa as well, and all the other elders.
Yeah, shalom, brother Onan. Thank you for your call. All right, great points. Moving on to our next call. We have about 15 minutes before the stream dies out, so I'm going to try to make sure I streamline these calls. All right, so we got brother Bobby with a comment.
Shalom, Elder Lawya.
Shalom, brother Bobby. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Brother, I got the shock of my life a few days ago. It's a brother I've been talking to about the truth. I'm from the Orlando body. And I recently got baptized in March, New Year's Day. And I waited patiently for all this. And I finally achieved my goal, and I'm attending the Orlando body now, and I'm very happy about it. So I've been talking to, yes, my brother, and I've been talking to a brother for about a year and a half. He's in the community I live in, and we talk, all the time, and I'm telling him about the truth, and I send him videos, like the first video I sent him was the 12 lost tribes of Israel found. Start him off with that. And I was sending him other videos and talking to him. And I'm thinking he's listening to me. And just the other day, I was on Facebook. And I was strolling on Facebook, and I saw the brother and with his partner, and they was celebrating their wedding anniversary. And lo and behold, I'm looking at this brother. This brother is married to a man, and I'm saying, wow. This brother is married to a man. I said, wow, this is deep, because I'm thinking that the brother is he didn't give me any kind of indication who he was, and I was just a little shocked about that, because I'm an older brother, and I'm just not I wasn't ready for all that, but. After listening to the show today, the lesson today, I understand that we've been overtook by the letter community. I didn't say overtaken. I said we've been overtook by the letter community, because this is what's happening. This is where we at in life, in the prophecy. This is where we at. So I was just a little shocked though, and at that year.
Well, thank you, brother Bobby, for your call. And what you have to do, you have to pray for the brother. You have to pray for him, and hopefully, if it be the Most High's will, by you sending him the information, by you dialoguing with him, and at least having the opportunity to share the word with him, hopefully a seed was planted. Okay? Hopefully a seed was planted that will be continuously watered. He's dealing with what he's dealing with right now. He's in the lifestyle of what he's in right now. And I'm assuming that thing got a hold on him. He went and took a step and, I don't want to say get married, because it's not marriage, but he did what he did.
No, it's not marriage.
It's definitely not marriage, but he went and he took a step further in his whatever relationship he has. But this hope is not lost for the brother. Continue to pray for him. Hopefully that seed was planted through sharing the word with him. Hopefully that seed is continuously nourished, and eventually the brother will one day wake up and understand the error of his ways. But right now,
yes,
he is where he is, and we just got to turn him over, turn it over to the Most High.
That's right. I have seen him since And I asked him about the picture. He told me, say, yes, this is me. And I didn't come down on the brother hard or anything like that. I just, and try to, talk to him. I said, well, I just want to encourage you, to let you know that at the end of sin is death, and the wages of sin is death, and that, the Most High God or higher, he doesn't like any type of sin. No sin is bigger than the other with him. Sin is sin, and I said, we'll continue to talk. So at that, we still, we still in the talking stage. I'll still continue to work with it because I feel that the brother is, he's going through something. He's a younger brother. He's in his 40s. And I feel he's going through something, but he acknowledges God. And, it says, as if, he's telling me that he's doing this right now, but he doesn't see himself doing it in the future. So that's a bright spot.
Well, at this point, to be honest with you, I would leave that thing totally alone. I would let it be, but let him know that, listen, if at any point in the future you want to, commit himself over to the Most High and repent, turn his life over, that the opportunity is there. Okay, I would say the door is open, but I don't know how he's going to take that type of verbiage. I don't know where he is mentally. So I wouldn't tell him the door is open, but I would say that, hey, you have an opportunity, if you would like, in the future, or you don't have to go into all that. Just let the brother know that, listen, we're gonna keep him in prayer. Tell him to keep studying the word, and if he decides to turn his life around in the future, let him know that opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but
right.
Understand that he must repent. Okay, if he wants to see the kingdom of heaven, he must repent.
He must repent and be baptized. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So with that, thank you, brother, for your call. And we're going to move on to the next one. Thank you, Brother Bobby.
All right. Shalom, my brother.
Shalom. Shalom. We got a Sister Carol, okay, with a question. All right, Sister Carol. All right.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Sister Carol. Shalom, you're live.
Elder. Hi.
Shalom, Sister Carol. How you doing?
I just have a question.
All right.
Great.
What's your question?
Thanks to the Most High God and His Son Yeshua, I'm great. I'm calling because the young lady that phoned regarding when she was in cosmetology school, I have a similar situation, but it's not a school, it's home. The building I live in, unfortunately, my neighbor up under me, he's called himself, I guess, both ways, both sexes. But he has been very mean to me. But I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and I tell you, Shai is awesome. Tables have turned. He's kind to me now. He's cordial, and I just pray for him. Can you hear me?
Sister, yes, I'm listening. Beautiful, beautiful testimony.
Right. So because I was upset, and he had threatened me as well, like the young lady was saying about the guy brought the gun to school. He had made threats to me, to physical harm. But as I continue to just pray, and things have changed. Prayer is powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, sister. And keep on praying.
And I just want to say one thing, and I'm going to let you go because I know you guys are short for time. I just want to say that I am so grateful. I am so grateful for being a part of this church. I've been in the academy 5 times. And
Thank you.
God's will, I will be joining again in June. But I am the problem I have. I don't have any transportation, and I've been trying to reach out to Chicago GOC because I'm GOCC there because their congregation there because Milwaukee. I don't have transportation, and I was trying to get someone that I know someone congregates from here, commutes from here to there, and I'm willing to help out with gas or whatever. And if I have to get the bus or the train, I just have to do what I have to do now because I've been waiting for someone to reach back out to me, and they haven't. Because
Let me ask you, so what area? Which area are you in?
Right side of things. I'm sorry.
Which area are you located in?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm only an hour 45 minutes from Chicago, and that's the closest GOCC congregation.
Okay. Well, I believe we have something. I'm going to check with the deacon there, Deacon Rawchaa in Chicago, to see if we have something there in Milwaukee.
I spoke with the deacon. I can't remember his name, but I did speak with the deacon. Did reach out to me, and I had asked him if on a Sabbath class if he could find out if anyone, because during our academy class right before you come in for our Hebrew class, we chat. And there was a young lady had stated that she commutes from here to Chicago, and I left my phone number, and I never got any calls or anything from the person. I can't remember her name or anything. But anyway, I said I just made up my mind. I prayed on it. I said if I have to get the train from Milwaukee to Chicago and take it from there, I just have to do what I have to do. With the Lord's willing.
Well, sister, we're going to see what we can do. I know we definitely have a strong following there in Milwaukee, but I'm going to get your number over to the deacon in Chicago to see what we have going on there in that area.
Okay.
And we're going to see what we can do to help you out. Okay.
I appreciate that. Well, this is my landline. I called from my mobile phone. The deacon that reached out to me, he has my cell phone number, but this is my landline.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we get up. I got your landline number here, so I'll make sure that you receive a call. Okay. We'll see what we can work out.
Very much. Shalom.
Shalom, sister. Thank you for your call.
You guys are so powerful. You have changed. God has used you guys to change my life completely. I mean, from studying, I never have been taught the way you guys have taught. You and Elder, you guys are the dream team. You guys are the dream team for GOCC. God continue to bless you guys.
All praise to the Most High.
Thank you so much. Shalom.
Shalom, and all praise be to the Most High, sister. Thank you for your call. All right, we're at 1 minute 50 seconds. Let me ask Elder Rawchaa, once this time runs out, will it allow me to continue, or will it close out the broadcast completely?
Overtime will last for an hour after the time runs down. So you have an hour.
Got you.
Available.
Got you. All right, we only have a few more anyway. All right, so we're going to take these last few calls. All right, starting with, I believe this is a Sister Lynn.
Good evening, brother. Shalom. This is
I'm sorry, Brother Lynn.
That's all right, man. It's a unisex name, so.
Got you.
But yeah, I appreciate you taking my call, brother. And I just happened to come across a brother that I also watched on YouTube, and he was going over some of this earlier, so I wanted to share something with you.
Okay.
Genesis 6:5 says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." And that was in the time of Noah. And I think that's where we're going now. And I also wanted to say that the thorns and the snares, this is Proverbs 22:5, the thorns and the snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. So we'll be far from the thorns and snares if we keep our soul. And the last thing that I wanted to say, brother, is the scripture right below it, Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up your child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Right? So if we're training up our kids in the right way, it says once they get old, they won't depart from it. But what if we're training our kids up in the wrong way? Will they still hold on to that when they're old, because that's all they knew?
Well, is that a question or is that a comment?
Well, this what you're dealing with the schools. Yeah, it's rhetorical, because we're dealing with this in the schools now, where we're having drag shows in elementary school. So we're training our kids. We're allowing our kids to be trained up in the wrong ways. So I think we should stand up against that. And I appreciate you for taking my call. And shalom, and keep up the good work in the faith. Thank you.
Shalom, Brother Lynn. Thank you for your call, and all praises be to the Most High. And that is a good question. If we do the opposite of what God says and we train up our children the wrong way, what do we expect the society to look like once these children have grown and have manifested, have become adults after years of being raised improperly with non-traditional values, okay, with ideologies, liberal ideologies that are destructive for family, which are destructive for communities, and in turn are destructive for society at large. What do we expect as the end result? And obviously, what we're seeing today is the end result of raising the society of children outside of traditional values. And again, thank you, Brother Lynn, for your call. Moving on to the next one, we got Sister, I believe this is a sister. Please correct me if I'm wrong when you come on. This is Sister Elishaba with a comment.
Hi, shalom. Shalom, Elder Lawya.
Shalom, sister. How you doing?
I'm good. I had a comment.
Okay.
I wanted to say that I realized that this whole thing that they're trying to do is that they're trying to cause a lot of propaganda so that everybody can become familiar with transgenderism and things like that, so that I feel like that was their first step, was to make everybody keep talking about it. Because I feel like once they get everyone talking about it, then they get everybody really familiar with what it is. And then I feel like that's like one of the main steps that they wanted, so that they can make it like really normal in society.
Well, definitely. I think definitely anytime, and we've discussed this ad nauseum, especially when bringing out articles in the academy and some of the lessons that we have gone over. We've discussed the process by which they introduce ideas into society. At first, usually it's with shock and awe and disgust and confusion. Why is this so? What is this new thing that people are into? What is this new idea that people are embracing? Is this real?
Yeah.
That's usually the sentiment that comes when some of these ideals are first introduced. I'm pretty sure if you were to go back years ago and look at some of the original articles with, the gender dysphoria and all these various things, if you were to look at this or look at those original articles, it probably would have been from the perspective of shock. What is this? Why is this happening? So on and so forth. But as you mentioned, that's simply just to get people talking about the topic. Once people get to talking about it, it'll lay low for a little bit, and then a few years later, you'll start to see it spring up again. But when it springs up again, it's usually from the standpoint of now sympathy. Something has happened to someone who identifies with this type of gender, or is dealing with or battling with some type of gender dysphoria, and something traumatic happened to them. And now sympathy is now being given to this person based on the fact that they were attacked, or something happened to them traumatic based on their gender identity. So now you start to see the sympathy thing rolled out, and now you start to see the science coming behind it, and science trying to support certain ideas or certain aspects of this ideology. And before you know it, now you have your first reality TV star who is gender dysphoric, or whatever term they have for it. So they have a pretty much a methodology by which they introduce these things slowly but surely into the conversation, and before you know it, it becomes so normal that people don't even speak about it anymore. But for us, and I'm going to give you the last word, I want to read this real quick, because for us, we have to make sure that when we have these conversations, as we're having tonight, that we're not just having this conversation for the sake of shock and awe, for the sake of, well, look at this new thing that's out there. What do you think about it? But not proactively doing things to actually protect our minds and our children's minds, and protecting our existence from these ideologies and these things that are being promoted. It says here in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, it says here, lest Satan should get the advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we have to bring these types of things out so that we understand the devices that are being used by Satan as a means to confuse society, to implant certain thoughts and ideas in our minds and in our children's minds to begin to accept this so-called new normal. So we have these conversations for a different reason. We have to proactively protect our legacy and protect our children, because the rest of the world is going to slowly but surely fall to this and accept this, to the point where there will be no, there will be no greater society. Society is going to collapse slowly but surely due to its acceptance of these ideas and practices. But Sister Rawchaa, you have the last word.
Okay.
All right. You have anything else before you close out?
I also wanted to say that that it's their whole thing with the gender ideology. It's a whole religion for them. Like, it's with the opposition religion. It's what the devil wants to promote, and in the
It is. It definitely is.
And it's in the Kabbalah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty. I haven't read the Kabbalah, but I'm pretty sure. Listen, I wouldn't doubt it. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really read it either, but they really they really twist scripture, and they want to become God, so they believe that becoming both genders is the way to do it.
Well, I tell you what, and thank you, Sister Rawchaa, for your comment. I'm going to put you back on hold and get to the rest of these calls. But thank you, some very great points there. All right, Shalom. So yes, I'll tell you this: we don't have to go as far as the Kabbalah to know exactly what the mindset is and what the ideology is. The scriptures tell us the ideology and the mindset behind what's being pushed when it comes to these practices that are pretty much a corruption of the image of God. I'm trying to be very careful here with the language. Romans, the first chapter. When you go to Romans, the first chapter, and you pair that along with Wisdom of Solomon 14 and the Apocrypha, it tells you pretty much the process that it took to get us to this point where now mankind can accept or even entertain the idea of alternative lifestyles, alternative genders, alternative non-traditional ideologies, liberal ideologies. The Bible maps it out in the book of Romans, the first chapter, and we'll probably go over that before we conclude, but not before we get to these calls. We have 2 more calls before we close out. We have Sister Lynette.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm excited to get through. I had to go back to one of the old YouTube videos, get the phone number because it's not on the screen. So it's 515-605-9327. Okay.
Got it.
For those that didn't have the number. So to get to the question at hand, which is how to get our children ahead of this, I am a therapist. And yes, I do agree that they are coming for our children. And just confirmation, Elder Lawyer, that you said, number one, question your children daily when they come home. If your kids are in public school, be ready to unplug from the public school system at any moment's notice. I work from home, and and basically I took a lower salary to be able to, be here at home with my child in case I have to pull her out of the school system. So it means that I have to take less. I can't buy the latest clothes. I don't have the latest car. Be on one accord with my husband and obedient to him and to our community. And then if I do have to unplug her from the public school system, be prepared for socializing things like having games and things that if we're playing at home together with our family, if we do unplug from the public school system, that she's not so, I miss my friends and this and this and that. Okay, you have us, you have our family, and create a community where she's not so, sad because she's unplugged from that social life. And things like painting activities and doing things with her at home and creating a community and just being aware, sleepovers, asking questions daily, and being as extreme as they are coming for us, being in the school and knowing that, okay, that's her mama, she's going to be there, she's going to ask questions,
right.
letting them know that I am very visible, that daddy is very visible. Daddy will send the email. Stepdaddy will be visible. So, and being on one accord with stepdad and stepmom, all of us together on one accord with our child. So that's really important. And also prayer, praying at night, praying daily, praying on the way to school. But definitely, if you have to take a less salary, working at home, and being ready to unplug at any moment's notice.
Absolutely. Sister, thank you for your call. Some very great points.
Thank you.
All right. Shalom. You have a good evening. All right, moving on to our last call, we have Sister Mika with a comment and a question. This will be the last call for the night.
Hello, Elder Lawya.
Shalom, Sister Mika. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I never spoke with you before. So anyway, something happened to my son about a year ago with his high school. And at that time, he was 16, so he's 17 now. And they wanted him to do an essay about gay tolerance. I mean, excuse my language. What could I call
Yeah,
it?
that's exactly what it is. What else do you call it? Well, I guess you would say LGBTQ tolerance.
Yeah, so and I'm so glad, like, my son let me know, you know. They said for him to get extra credit, he had to do an essay for tolerance. And so, of course, he never got that extra credit, you know, because I told him, I said, well, you won't be getting that extra credit because, no, you're not doing the essay about that, you know. But now he goes to school. He goes to school online, so he doesn't even go in school now. He just does everything on the computer, and he has 1 year left, you know. So that's
good.
my little Judah lion. And I have a grandson too, so we're just gonna homeschool them, you know, and make sure that they're in Sabbath services, and so that the deacons and elders can continue to pray for them, because it said in the Bible that we should teach our children his laws, statutes, and commandments, and we have to teach that to our children, okay? But unfortunately, I didn't get to raise my children until much later, you know, when they were like teenagers, okay? I didn't get to raise my kids because of what happened in the past that stopped me from raising them. So by the time I was able to get my kids, they were already like set in their ways. So whatever I would try to instill in them, you know, it would be difficult because they were already set in their ways. And I have a daughter. I've asked for prayer for her many times from you guys. She operates in the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah, and I really fear for her life every single day. And I ask for prayer for her every opportunity that I can get. Do you think that it could be too late for my daughter, because she's like at a point of no return?
Well, as long as there, and I do have a question, but to answer your question first, as long as there's breath in her lungs, there is never such thing as it being too late. It's too late when she dies in her sin. Okay. But as long as she has life and blood flowing through her veins, is no such thing as never too late. You have to continue to pray for her, and hope that the Most High delivers her out of that lifestyle. Okay. But let me ask you. You mentioned you mentioned. Is it possible that you can share what prohibited you from being able to be there early on in your children's lives, to kind of set the pace for their upbringing?
Yes. It was due to my disobedience to the Most High, and because of my disobedience, I ended up losing my children. It was just, I feel like his wrath just came down on me because of my disobedience. I was in a relationship with my last two kids' father, and he hurt my first daughter. My first daughter, he hurt her. Like, he beat her, okay? And I also ended up getting in trouble because they said that I should have called the police, but I was afraid that I'd lose my kids, because at the time, my daughter that's out of control right now, she was only 6 months at that time, and I just had a baby. And so I got help from somewhere else other than the police. And the person that helped me, you know, when my back was turned, they called Children Protective Services on me. And, yeah, they tried to send me to prison. They took away my parental rights. So to make a long story short, my mother didn't have her life right with the Most High. She raised them the best she could, but it wasn't good like what my children were exposed to, because my mom, she wasn't that godly, you know? So when I finally got my kids, it was hard really hard to undo what had already been done, you know, what they had already been exposed to, because everything was just out of my control since my parental rights had been terminated. You know.
Okay, what steps did you take in order to get your? I'm sorry, sister, not to cut you, but what steps did you take to get your children back?
Oh, I did so much stuff. Like, I tried taking all types of parenting classes. I got a lawyer. Like, this lawyer was so expensive. Everything I did, you know, they just, no matter what I did, they just made it really hard. But I didn't really try to get my kids back until after my mom had passed away, because my mom would not allow me to get my kids back because, you know, that's just the way it was. My mom wanted to keep them for her own personal reasons. So then when she passed away, I tried to get them back. They said, well, your mother, you know, didn't put anything in writing. Your parental rights are terminated. You know, just they made it really hard. Okay. So, but two of my kids are in my life right now, but my other daughter, she's like I said, she's out on the streets and she's operating in the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah, and every single day I'm stressed out. I'm continually worried about her. Like, every time I watch a broadcast, you may see me in the comments asking for prayer for her, you know, because I'm reaching out to everybody asking for prayer for my daughter, for her salvation. You know, I pray for the salvation of my children, all of them, you know. She's such a beautiful girl. You know, Satan, the enemy, is just oppressing her and just have taken over her. You can't even see the beautiful person that she really is because of all the demons that are oppressing her. And she has so many talents that the Most High has bestowed upon her. She has so many talents that people don't get, okay? But she's not operating in any of the talents, you know. She's out, you know, risking her life every day, prostitution. I can really go on, but like I said, to sum it all up in a nutshell, she's operating in the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Well, you have to continue to pray for her and understand that obviously there's a lot of trauma there with a lot of traumatic experiences. And, you know, that transformation is not going to happen overnight, because the traumas that are contributing and that have fueled the activity, those things didn't happen overnight. That's years and years of trauma. And we're just seeing, and you're just seeing the end result of it. But that's years and years of just these traumatic experiences and poor choices. So because of that, the prayer and all of those things that are needed, and the process of her transformation it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but you have to keep praying for her.
Well, can you say a special prayer for her whenever you get, you know, to yourself? Like, just put up a special prayer as well, and everyone else that's in the chat, you know, that is with the Most High. Please pray for my daughter, please. Everybody, I'm asking.
Well, sister, what you can do is send an email to goccSouth@yahoo.com, and we will pray for her. Okay. Now there's no special prayer. There's no magic bullet prayer that's going to, again, make everything change overnight. But nonetheless, we will keep her in continual prayer. So what you can do, send an email to goccSouth@yahoo.com and with her name. Okay. And we'll make sure that we keep her in prayer.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Sister Mika, for your call and sharing that experience. All right. You have a blessed night. And I mentioned one thing before we close out about the religious aspect of this. In fact, the sister, I believe it was Elisha, called in and mentioned that this was a religious thing for those who are enacting this, what would you call this? This imposition on society. Those who are basically like the men of Sodom at the door, forcing themselves in, trying to force themselves in and impose themselves on our hearts and our minds with their sinful activity and their confusion. Okay. And according to the scriptures, you're going to find out that what they are dealing with is there's a religious aspect to it. Okay. I'm going to read this very quickly, going to the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse number 21. In fact, I'll start at verse number 20, and after this, we will close out. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even its eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So this is Paul speaking about primarily the Gentiles. Many people ask, well, the Bible goes back to the book of Psalms 147, 19 and 20, telling us that the Lord gave his statutes and commandments unto Israel and have not done so with any nation. So if the nations did not receive the commandments, how could they be found guilty of sin? How could they be guilty or found guilty of breaking God's commandments? Because as Paul says, let me jump over very quickly to the book of Romans chapter 3. And let me see here, Romans chapter 3 and verse number 19. All right. In fact, let me go to verse number 9. This is the key verse. Romans 3 and 9. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have proved, or we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. So the question is, how could this be so if the Gentiles did not receive the commandments of the Most High? As it says in Psalms 119 and 147. In fact, let me read that, 147 and 19, excuse me, very quickly. Psalms 147, 19 and 20 says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Okay? So people look at that and they ask themselves, well, if that's the case, if the Gentiles never received the commandments, how could Paul come and say that the Gentiles are guilty of sin? Well, even though the Gentiles did not receive the commandments, there were certain things they received. As Paul says, even nature itself doeth teach you. Okay? They received understanding of right from wrong. Even going back to their father Noah, when he came off the ark, he taught Shem, Ham, and Japheth certain principles of right and wrong. Okay? So even though the Israelites received a codified, detailed breakdown of God's commandments, the Gentiles also, the other sons of Noah, they also received certain principles of the commandments. Okay? Very quickly, if we go to the book of Romans chapter 9, verse number 1. And I'm going to get to the point about this being religious, but I want to break this down very clearly so that we understand the context of what we're reading, but also showing, as I mentioned, the religious aspect of this, this agenda. Okay? So it says here in Romans 9 and 1, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. So therefore, from that blessing from God unto Noah and his sons, it was understood that they were to be fruitful and multiply, meaning what? They were to deal with the traditional values of family, meaning what? Male and female created he them. And with male and female, he commanded them to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. That was the principle that was established from the beginning of creation, and it was passed down all the way to the other side of the flood, where God is telling Noah and his sons to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. How is this possible? Through the union of both male and female. It goes on to say in verse number 2, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So, the sons of Noah also received some concept of a dietary law or dietary restrictions, okay? They were commanded not to consume blood, okay? So even though they didn't receive that full list of things not to eat and beasts to eat and not to eat, as is documented in the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter, they still had some aspect of a law as it pertained to not consuming blood. Okay? Also, they had knowledge of clean animals. As you go into the story of Noah's Ark, Noah was told to bring on a certain amount of clean animals as well as unclean animals. So that concept of clean and unclean was present as well amongst Noah and his sons. It goes on to say here, let me get one more verse, just to show you, even though they didn't receive the laws as they were given to the children of Israel, the Gentiles received some understanding from their father Noah, and therefore were responsible for keeping these particular principles. So they were not left without understanding. They were not left without certain principles from on high that would teach them the idea of right from wrong. It goes on to say here in verse number 6, in fact, verse number 5, and surely your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. So we have the concept of what? Thou shalt not murder. Okay? All of this was established with the sons of Noah after the flood. So they had an understanding of right from wrong. Right? So let's see how the Gentiles descended from an understanding of God and his principles, at least some of his principles, which some may call the Noahic laws, to now moving into idolatry, and how that idolatry led them to accepting what we call today alternative lifestyles. Moving on here. All right, that last scripture was the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter. Genesis chapter 9. The first precept we went to was the book of Romans chapter 3. Okay. Let me get it here. Romans 3 and 9. Okay, Romans 3 and 9. All right, you there, Elder?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
We're about to break down, right?
Yes, sir. I was just going over one thing before we closed out.
Oh, okay, because there's something that I have to handle, right?
Okay. Well, if you would like, we can end it here. So
yeah, I'm just saying, the devil's busy, but hold on. Let's see here. Let's see. So I know the brothers and sisters are looking at me. All right, there I am. Yeah. Hold on. Go ahead. You can answer the last question if you may, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. We're just going over, someone mentioned that there's a religious aspect to this confusion that we're seeing. So we're just going over that very quickly in Romans 1.
Let's do it.
After this, we'll close out.
Yep.
All right. Romans chapter 1 and 20. So it says here, that the Godhead is an example of what is right and what is wrong. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So the question is, how can something invisible be clearly seen? Well, it goes on to say, being understood by the things that are made. What did God make in the beginning? When you go to the book of Matthew, the 19th chapter, Christ tells us what? Very quickly, Matthew 19, Christ tells us that the Most High made male and female in the beginning. That was the representation of the Godhead on earth. Okay? In Matthew 19 and 4, it says, and he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? So this is what was made at the beginning as a representation of what God stands for. Okay? Verse 21, because that when they knew God, that there was a time in which the Gentiles knew the Most High. When? Under their father Noah. They glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened.
Yeah.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, speaking about their philosophers. And they changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to a corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. So in other words, they stopped worshiping God, the creator, and began worshiping creatures, began worshiping idols. So once they started worshiping gods made in their image, gods crafted after their hands, they could now craft their own religions and their own beliefs pertaining to these gods. Moving on, it says here in verse number 24, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own heart, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. So now we're starting to see the alternative lifestyles coming in as they began to corrupt the image of God, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. So again, we're seeing alternative lifestyles creeping in as a result of corrupting the image of God through idolatry. 27 says, and likewise also the men leaving the natural use of the women, men with men working that which is unseemly.
Hold on.
And receiving.
I'll be right back. Right back. 1 second. All right.
Yes, sir.
1 second.
It says, and likewise. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Finish.
Yes, sir. Verse 27, and likewise also the men leaving the natural use of the woman, burn in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meet. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. All right. So that's the religious aspect of this agenda that we're seeing, this propaganda that's being pushed. And as with any thing that is a religious ideology, a false ideology that is against the image of God, that is against the gospel, that is against the word of God, we must make sure that we stand, and as the scriptures tell us, it says we must cast down all imaginations of things which exalt themselves against the word of God. And that's exactly what we're doing, and that's what we have been doing. And ultimately, as we've been mentioning throughout this broadcast, we have to make sure that things are set in place for our children to ensure that they are protected, their minds are protected, their hearts are protected, they are physically protected from this onslaught. And with that, I'm going to conclude.
Okay. Yes. Sorry about that. Elder Lawya?
Yes, sir.
Check 1, 2. Hold on. Say something there.
All right. Mic check 1, 2. Test,
okay.
test.
Yes, we're good. All right, Elder Lawya. Anything else on that?
No, sir. No, sir. We can conclude.
Okay, someone has a comment, and then I can let people understand what to look forward to in the future. One moment as we embark on this serious journey. Hold on, I'll call you right back, okay? Yes. All right. Hello, hello, hello. All right. We have Alicia Ba has a comment. Alicia Ba?
Yeah, I think we got all
Y'all
of
got that? All right.
Yeah, we got all of the callers.
Thank you, Elder Lawya, for handling that. All right. As you know, the devil's busy, but the truth prevails. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Thank you, Elder Lawya. I hope you have had some good understanding, and maybe we can understand on what to do, what will befall a broken world, how we can come together as the end near for parents, men, women. What are we willing to do to get in front of them Sodomites coming against our family? And if we don't defend our people, no one will. So come under the hedge of Christ and let's finish the war. One other thing I wanted to put out there to warn some brothers and sisters out there real quick is that, brothers and sisters, real quick, there's a group that's overseas between Egypt and Jordan.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay. That's between Egypt and Jordan. And I've gotten wind that they're targeting people, bringing them on Zoom calls, okay, and charging them to come over to live in these other countries. A lot of things are going on. A sister came back the other day. She found out about us once it was too late. She was already over there, and they took all of her money, and she's back here with nothing. An elder woman. And she says they went over there in 2021, about 100 some odd people over there just wandering out there. Okay? So I'm just here to say, and I tell brothers and sisters all the time, be very careful of these schemes that brothers and sisters have concerning going other places. If they're not, and I'm going to tell you, because usually when it happens, they circle back around and reach us after it's too late. And it's these brothers who have these women in front, coaxing other women and others over there. And they took this woman's last savings. Okay? Thieves. So all I'm going to say is, brothers and sisters, be very careful. It's not, the enemy comes in all colors. And don't think because someone is saying Ahia or saying that they down with the Most High. No, they're targeting our people, the impressionable ones, out of their retirement. And guess what? This sister, she gave all she had to this so-called group and came back with nothing after getting extradited. So be careful. Don't follow those people. And if you do, understand that we told you, they're going to sell it like it's gold. They're going to make you think that they're offering the kingdom of heaven. Oh, yeah, we got your apartments. We're going to set you up. We're going to do this. And the next thing you know, they're out of there after stealing your money. Okay, these are Israelites that are going into these other countries using fleeing as a scam. Okay, so you've been duly warned. I can't say anything else but say, be patient. I know that eventually we're going to have to leave and go into other areas, but I would suggest get up under a congregation and be guided by like-minded souls, because we are all we have, okay? We are all we have. You go over there with those strangers, no telling what's going to happen, okay? Let me say that. The next announcement I would like to make, let's see, Elder Lawya here. Skype. Oh, yeah. The other announcement I would like to make, all right, is that, June 25th begins our next academy. I hope you all are there, okay? And we'll be going into the archaeology and history on each lesson to prove the Bible correct according to archaeology and history. A master class for 3 months. I hope you all be a part of this for 3 months starting June 25th. Praise the Most High, another great Hebrew and Bible Academy. The next thing I know you all are excited to hear, Elder Lawya, they was asking when will be the next project. Well, soon we will be premiering the video in the song Bye Bye. Bye Bye Babylon on another level. Okay. So we will be premiering that video, and we're going to bring that video out and premiere it next week. And I hope you all will see it, hear it, support it as we embark on another music project, Music with the Purpose Part 2. Okay. So the work is moving. The Most High is bringing forth new music, and I hope you enjoyed the premiere video. Bye Bye next week. Okay. We're going to try to have it out where you'll be able to access it on different platforms, as well as we'll jump that off right after the video is revealed. Okay. The premiere video next week. And from the video, boom, Music with the Purpose Part 2. I know it's been long awaited and anticipated. All right. So I hope you all will be behind it and bless us and help us as we finish this thing. As Babylon falls, Israel rises. Elder Lawya, you have anything to say?
No, sir. No, sir.
Someone asked, should anyone go to Jordan with everything that's going on there? We made it clear, brothers and sisters, that no one is to go into the areas of Lot, because in the war, they will be utterly eviscerated. The fire is coming in those areas. Do not go to those areas. Okay? Do not go into Jordan, and do not follow these people who are over there, because what they're seeking is finances from America to keep them afloat. So what's happening is there's no way they can actually sustain themselves on their own as individuals. So they come in packs and come up with these elaborate schemes on Zoom to get you in, to actually target those who are weak. And then they'll have the women call those people that begin to transfer money and all that. It's almost on a level of a Nigerian scam. Right. And because they do facilitate helping you over, right, they'll say that we've done our part, but now you're out there by yourself and cannot sustain. So, all right. So be very careful. All right. So, so may the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. We will soon see Zion. Shalom. Thank you, Elder Lawya.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. The Most High is calling back Israel. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up, sin not. We will soon see Zion. Shalom.
Arabs and Africans told us
at gunpoint,
together our wives and children then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. Together us in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans,